Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto was sent to in Konosuba. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by SPIRITSAGE124 and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Where am I? The boy with bright blonde hair wearing a tattered orange jumpsuit glanced around the small room with blurry eyes. He was sitting in a chair. He tried to recall his memories, but his mind was still a bit fuzzy. When his eyes finally adjusted, the boy found himself in a small dark space. A single light lit up the otherwise endless void of darkness where he sat on a small wooden chair. Sitting across from him in the small space was a girl who seemed to be smiling at him. Hi. The boy mentally kicked himself for stuttering, but he couldn't help himself because the woman was beautiful. She had long silver white hair and a heart-shaped face with deep violet eyes that had a hint of sadness to them. Her hands rested on her lavender gown in a very graceful manner. The girl almost seemed to be glowing in the dim light, which gave her a look that could be compared to an angel and even a goddess. Hello, Naruto Uzumaki-san. Welcome to the world after life ends. I am the goddess who will guide your way, Eris. Otherwise known as the goddess of luck. Seeing the look of confusion on Naruto's face, the goddess continued with an almost apologetic expression on her angelic features. There is no easy way to say this, but your time in the mortal world is over. As if a switch had been flipped, the memories of the war began to rush into Naruto's head. Death. Betrayal. Sacrifice. These were the words to describe the horrors he and his friends had faced. It was hard to process it all and accept that it was all over. So that's how it is. I died. But despite knowing that he was dead, Naruto felt strangely calm. Like he already knew that everything was going to be okay. Eris. Can I ask you something? How did everything turn out? Did the war end? Did we win? Eris smiled, and Naruto immediately felt a sense of relief. The goddess radiated serenity, and it was really helping him feel relaxed. The fourth great shinobi war has indeed ended. After you and your friend defeated Madara Uchiha, Obito Uchiha sacrificed himself and revived all of the lives that had been lost in that final battle. That Rinnegan technique that Nagato used to revive everyone back then. But wait, how did I die? After Naruto asked that, Eris gained a sour expression. The mastermind behind all of the evil in your world, Black Zetsu, tried to take over your body after Obito finished using the technique and perished. Because you were so drained from your previous battles, it took everything you had just to keep Black Zetsu from attacking your friends with your body. Then you asked Sasuke to kill me, along with that Black Zetsu bastard. Naruto finished when the memories of his death finally came back. In a last-ditch act of rage, Black Zetsu was going to use his body to kill everyone that he held dear to him. If Sasuke hadn't been there, Naruto would have had the blood of his precious people on his hands. Leaning back in the chair he was sitting in, Naruto took in a deep breath. Sasuke was in a dark place, what with his claim of killing the current Kage and revolution. But the look on Sasuke's face while I was dying is all I need to trust that he'll do the right thing. Naruto thought with a short nod. Having no choice but to believe in his best friend, Naruto leaned forward and grinned widely at the goddess in front of him. Alright. I'm ready for hell. Seeing the goddess's befuddled expression, Naruto raised an eyebrow. What's the matter? Eris quickly stood up, her lavender dress fluttering as a frantic look overtook her face. What makes you think I'm sending you to hell? You're a hero. Hero or not, I'm a shinobi. I've killed people. Of course I'm going to hell. Naruto responded like it was only natural, because it was. No matter what the reason, killing was wrong. Naruto knew this and lived a life prepared for what came after he died. Eris sat back down in her chair. You experienced so much pain and loneliness in your life, yet you still believe that you do not deserve salvation. Naruto was slightly taken aback. This goddess was showing so much concern for someone she had only just met. Surely he was only one out of millions billions of people she's had this conversation with. Such kindness is expected of a goddess. Noticing the strange look on Naruto's face, Eris blushed and straightened herself. Well then, I have a proposition for you. I hope that you will at least hear me out. Upon hearing her words, Naruto inched back in his seat and eyed Eris suspiciously. Wait, don't tell me that you're actually a devil that is trying to make a deal for my soul. Of course not. Eris yelled and stomped her foot in frustration, her ears burning red. Hahaha. Sorry, I was just kidding. Naruto said and held his now aching stomach. He understood the situation he was in, but there was something about this goddess that made him want to tease her. He's a goddess, and you will receive divine retribution. Eris muttered with a pout which the boy noted to be quite adorable. Sorry. It won't happen again. Naruto shouted obediently and sat up straight in his chair. Suspicion still evident in her eyes, Eris summoned a piece of paper out of thin air with a poof. In another dimension than your own, exists a world that is threatened by a demon king. Because of the demon king's attacks, fewer and fewer people want to be reincarnated into this world. To solve this problem, a plan was issued to ask people from other realms who still yearn to live to reincarnate into this world in response to the declining population. I don't really get it, but you basically want me to go there and kick this Demon King's ass? Naruto asked, and Eris nodded with a slightly bemused smile. Yes. Should you accept, you will retain your memories and chakra. The language of the land will also be imported into your mind, so you don't have to learn it. As bonus, you will also be granted a divine relic of your choosing. An ability or weapon with godlike power to aid you in your quest. That's okay. All I need are my 2 fists. Naruto claimed with confidence and slammed his fists together. Are you sure there isn't anything you wish to bring? Anyone? Eris asked with a knowing smile. Naruto tilted his head in confusion when it dawned on him. Kurama. How could he have forgotten the grumpy old fox whom he shared a body with his entire life? So, without a second thought, I'd like to bring Kurama with me to this new world. That is, if he wants to come with me. Naruto murmured the last bit while poking his fingers together nervously. After all, since he died, Kurama's chakra would have been dispersed into nature and would eventually reincarnate somewhere in the elemental nations. The fox would be free, just like he always wanted. They had only just become friends, if one could even call it friendship. Eris smiled reassuringly. I've already spoken with Kurama-san, and when I explained the situation, he said. I've grown bored of this world anyway and agreed to go with you. Eris said while making a grumpy-sounding voice that must have been her impression of the 9-tailed fox. Naruto's eyes widened upon hearing this, and he couldn't help but laugh. That sounded just like something Kurama would say, and it was relieving to hear the fox wanted to tag along on this adventure. Eris suddenly snapped her fingers. Then, to Naruto's surprise, a brilliant light shined down on him and he felt a sense of weightlessness as he began to ascend into the heavens literally. As Naruto was filled with excitement, he heard Eris's voice from below. Of course, there is a small chance that both of your existences could be wiped out while transporting to the new world. But as the goddess of luck, I can safely say that the odds are in your favor. Good luck. What do you mean our existences might be wiped out? Hey, answer me. Eris merely stuck her tongue out playfully, and Naruto realized that she must have been getting back at him for teasing her earlier. A cheeky grin on his face, Naruto waved goodbye to the goddess of luck as his vision faded to black. Naruto Uzumaki's next adventure had begun. Axel Town. Naruto opened his eyes and eagerly took in the view. He was standing in the middle of what seemed to be a park. Children running around the patch of grass as their mothers conversed with one another. Surrounding the park were 1 to 2-story structures with wooden roofs. In the short distance, he could see the streets were bustling with townsfolk and merchants advertising their goods to those that passed by. This place seems peaceful, Naruto thought as a pair of kids ran right past him. Wasn't the Demon King a pretty big deal? Eris did say that people were refusing to reincarnate back into this world because of the Demon King's attacks. Blinking in realization, Naruto shut his eyes and screamed into his mind. Kurama, are you there? Hey. Talk to me, buddy. Quit yelling. Of course I'm here. The angry voice of Kurama bellowed in the blonde's mind and Naruto found himself grinning widely. Sorry, I was just worried you might have changed your mind. I'm glad you're here. It was either this or be enslaved by that accused Uchiha you still foolishly call a friend. So you would have missed me, huh? Love you too, buddy. Don't make me regret coming here, brat. Kurama warned with a low growl, prompting the Jinchuriki to mutter a sheepish apology. While Naruto was chatting with Kurama, some of the kids began to gather around him due to their curiosity, prompting the mothers to rush over to keep their children away from the strange grinning boy who was standing on the middle of the park with his eyes closed. But I'm impressed those self-proclaimed gods were able to collect all of my chakra and send the both of us here. They even managed to recreate a seal similar to that of your father's. Naruto opened his eyes and lifted his shirt, which was surprisingly untattered now, and molded some chakra to find a group of strange markings on his stomach. But before he could make a comment, he heard a few gasps. There was a group of children with their eyes being covered by their blushing mothers, their eyes glued on his abdomen. Naruto put his shirt back down and laughed awkwardly. Maybe I should go somewhere else. But you should. After apologizing to the mothers in the park, Naruto ventured into the town. So, what should we do first? We're in a whole new world, no one knows us, and we don't have any money. So far, he had confirmed that he spoke the same language as the people here and that the town they were in was called Axel, the town of beginners. He had also tried to buy a snack from a nearby food stand but found that the currency was obviously different in this world. Go figure. It looked like Gama-chan and his remaining Ryo were nothing but a memento. Town of beginners. They should have sent us straight to the Demon King's castle. We don't know anything about this world, so of course we'd be sent to a beginner town. It may seem weird coming from me, but information first, Demon King later. Kurama merely responded with a grunt. I think I'm gonna look for that bar that we've heard about. Jiraiya-sensei always said that bars were the best places to go for information. We both know the real reason that perverted mentor of yours would go to those bars. You would think a library would be the first place one would go for information, but I doubt your dumb ass would be caught dead in one of those places. Not that I blame you. That's harsh, Kurama. Love you too, buddy. A tick mark formed on Naruto's forehead, but he was pulled out of his thoughts when something crashed next to him. He looked down to see a teenage boy with brown hair that appeared to be about his age. The boy had collapsed on the ground under a few planks of wood, having seemed to have overexerted himself. Naruto pulled the planks off the guy who was gasping for air. Hey, you okay? Why yeah, thanks. I need to get these planks to the construction site soon, or else the boss is gonna yell at me again. Where'd that useless woman run off to? Woman? Perhaps the guy's co-worker? Naruto looked around and didn't see woman dressed in a similar fashion to this boy. Shrugging, the shinobi decided to seek some information. Hey, I heard there's a good bar around here. Could you point me in the right direction? Naruto asked as he helped gather up the planks from the ground. The boy stopped what he was doing and looked up, raising an eyebrow when he took in the shinobi's appearance for the first time. Those are some weird clothes. Are you a traveler? The teen asked why, lying the shinobi's apparel, particularly the headband. Something like that, Naruto said and scratched his cheek awkwardly, not really sure how else he could answer. The boy hummed as if in thought before he grabbed something out of his pocket. Here. I'm guessing you don't have any money, and I have a feeling you'll need this later. Naruto took the offered pouch and examined it. There were coins inside. Are you sure? We only just met. Call it my good deed for the day. Treat me to a drink or something later if it's that big of a deal to you. The teen said with a snicker and heaved the planks over his shoulder. He then pointed down the street with his free hand. Follow that road and take a right. There's a big building called the Adventurers Guild. They'll have what you're looking for. Looking in the same direction, Naruto nodded and grinned widely in appreciation. Thanks a lot. I'll be sure to return the favor someday. By the way, the name's Naruto Uzumaki. Kazuma Satu, and it's not a problem at all. A good senpai like me has to set a good example for his kohai. Kazuma. Where's Kazuma? We need those planks ASAP. What is that skinny brat doing? Kazuma's face paled when he was cut off by a deep raging voice that Naruto could only assume was his boss. I gotta go. See ya. Naruto waved awkwardly as he watched his fellow teen run off with new vigor. Poor guy, he must have it rough. After following the directions he had been given by Kazuma, Naruto found a building that was quite a bit larger than the surrounding structures. Without a doubt, this had to be the Adventurers Guild. Taking a short breath, Naruto walked through the front door. Immediately upon entering the building that was bustling with activity, he was greeted by a passing waitress. Welcome. If you're here to eat, just take any of the open seats. Ah. I was actually wondering if I could get some information. Naruto had to yell to get the waitress's attention again, as she was already walking away to continue working. Certainly. Just walk over to the reception desks. The staff working there will be more than happy to answer your questions. Thanking the woman, Naruto walked towards the reception desks while taking in the guild's interior. Maybe it was because of his bright orange clothes, but he seemed to be drawing a lot of attention. Burly-looking men with large weapons and other gear stared at him as if they were sizing him up as a potential threat. Didn't seem like he'd be making friends anytime soon. Walking up towards the reception desks, Naruto noticed there were two stalls. One of which had a very long line, while the other was completely empty. Naruto raised an eyebrow before making the obvious choice of walking to the open stall. Welcome to Axel Town's Adventurers Guild. How may I help you? A receptionist with short brown hair and green eyes said with a glowing expression, almost as if she hadn't expected him to talk to her. Are these two stalls different in any way? Do you cover different topics than the other one or something? Naruto asked while browsing at various flyers and contraptions on the desk. Perfect. Information. Ah no, the adventurers just like to speak with Luna-san. The receptionist said with a wry smile and pointed towards the other stall to prove her point. Following the girl's finger, Naruto got a glance at the other receptionist, and he immediately understood why the Adventurers, who were mostly men, wanted to talk to her. Blonde hair, golden eyes, and large breasts that looked as though they would pop out of her shirt that was clearly a size too small. The woman was gorgeous. Looks like she has her hands full, Naruto commented with a bead of sweat trailing down his cheek as he watched a male adventurer walk to the woman, his eyes far lower than eye level. It was ridiculous how some men didn't even bother to hide their lecherous intent. For shame. Says the guy who perverted the transformation jutsu when he was just a brat. Kurama chimed in on Naruto's thoughts with a snarky tone. Ignoring the noisy fox, Naruto turned his attention back to the receptionist just as she continued. Luna-san is like an older sister to us all, especially to the adventurers. So what brings you to the Adventurers Guild, sir? Please don't call me sir, that makes me sound old. The name's Naruto, and I was wondering if you could answer a few questions for me. Naruto said while smiling bitterly, and the receptionist giggled into her hand and nodded. I'll try my best to answer, Naruto-san. After Naruto asked some of his basic questions, like important places he'd need to go and where the Demon King was, the receptionist's eyes widened. You want to defeat the Demon King? Well, the best place to start would be joining this guild and becoming an adventurer. After all, Axel is well known for being the town of beginners. Naruto nodded his head eagerly and asked the obvious question. How do I sign up? You just have to pay the registration fee of 1,000 eris and we can take care of the rest. Naruto gulped when he heard this, but quickly remembered the money Kazuma lent him. Fishing the small pouch of coins out of his pocket, Naruto placed a change into the receptionist's hand. Is this enough? Yes, that's the exact amount. 1,000 eris exactly. Did Kazuma already know he'd be joining the Adventurers Guild? Naruto decided he'd buy the guy 2 drinks the next time he saw him. Now then, let me explain. Every adventurer has their own occupation or class. You can register what class you want to be onto your adventurer's card. The receptionist explained and placed a small index card on the counter. This will keep track of the monsters you've killed, as well as your level, skills, and experience points. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Eh? How does it do that? With magic? Magic? The receptionist blinked. Naruto-san, do you perhaps not know anything about magic? Nope. Not at all. Naruto admitted without hesitation while waved his hand dismissively and the receptionist gained a troubled expression. I can take it from here. The woman named Luna said as she walked over to them and the receptionist Naruto had been previously talking to thank the girl before excusing herself. As Luna gathered some things from under the reception desk, Naruto glanced at the other counter and was surprised to find the long line of adventurers were long gone. She helped all those people that fast. Now then, Naruto-san, was it? Let me explain to you what magic is. Why yes. I'll be in your care. Naruto's head spun as the kind and very patient receptionist thoroughly explained how magic worked in this world. Magic, which was this world's equivalent to chakra, was used by adventurers in forms of spells and magical items. Everyone generated their own mana over time and spells consumed it while most magic items didn't. That was the gist of what Naruto picked up from the explanation. Next, we'll decide what your class will be. But first place your hand here. Luna said and placed a contraption with a glass ball onto the desk, which Naruto assumed was one of the magic items she had been talking about. Placing his hand onto the orb, it began to glow as energy visibly spun around the gear-like parts. A stream of magic beamed down to the registration card that had been placed below the magic item, and Naruto was surprised as symbols began to form. Whoa, Naruto whispered in awe as he witnessed magic for the first time. The receptionist grabbed the card when the magic item stopped writing and began to look over the information. Let's see what your stats are. This is. Naruto was about to ask what was written on the card when Luna stared at him with a look of wonder. Your stats are amazing. Well above average across the board and ridiculously high luck. Though your intelligence is about average, the girl exclaimed while mumbling the last bit with a slight hint of disappointment. Naruto didn't really understand, but it sounded like he was being praised, so he rubbed the back of his head and grinned sheepishly. Wait, did she say his intelligence was about average? What was that supposed to mean? No way, did we just get another golden rookie? Not just a Kwa-chan, but 2 golden rookies. We sure are lucky this week. Bless Eris. Naruto looked around when a crowd began to gather around him. Nervous from the sudden attention, he quickly looked back at the excited receptionist who was still looking at his adventurer's card with a befuddled expression. What does this mean? With stats like this, you can choose any of the advanced classes right away. Although I don't recommend choosing Arch-Wizard, which depends on the intelligence stat, the receptionist explained, while yet again mumbling the last bit. Boy. Naruto was about to choose Arch-Wizard out of spite when the surrounding adventurers started shouting out their suggestions. Be a sword master. No way, this guy's aura is screaming crusader. I don't know, the world could always use another arch-priest. Trying his best to ignore the noisy audience, Naruto leaned towards the pretty receptionist so she could hear him better. Are there any limitations to each class? I'd pick the thief class since it's the closest thing to a ninja, but I just want to make sure. I don't know what a ninja is, but there are indeed limitations to each class. For example, a thief wouldn't be able to learn skills like intermediate magic that a mage could learn. Well, that's a bummer. I wanted to try learning magic, but if I choose the thief class, then I won't be able to do so until I change class. I can't think with all these people shouting. Naruto was about to snap at the noisy adventurers when Luna spoke up again. There is also the adventurers class that can learn skills from all the other classes, but with stats like yours. I'll take it. Make me an adventurer, please. The crowd fell silent, the previous excitement dying out in an instant. Ha! Serves them right. Naruto thought with a mischievous grin as the adventurers started walking away. He heard them mumbling amongst themselves, some of them saying things like, talk about a letdown and what a waste. But that didn't bother him in the slightest. Besides, the adventurer class may be the weakest of the bunch, but now he could learn skills from all of the various classes. So what if it took a little longer to earn enough skill points? His adventurer's card said he already had plenty. I see you could always change your class later. Luna said with a strained smile, but she proceeded to make the changes to Naruto's adventurer's card and handed it to him. Now all you have to do is walk over to that board there and pick out a quest. But I recommend forming a party first. Solo hunting can be dangerous, especially for beginners. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks for helping me. Naruto said and took a second look at his adventurer's card, a massive grin on his face. He felt a sudden urge of excitement welding up inside him. His goal was to defeat the Demon King, but being an adventurer seemed kind of fun. You're very welcome, Naruto-san. I wish you luck on your adventures. Naruto waved to the pretty receptionist and turned towards the job board to pick his first job as an adventurer. He wasn't going to bother creating a party since he didn't plan on staying in this town for very long. Naruto Uzumaki wasn't a beginner in the slightest. He'd stay in this town for a week at most and do some quests to earn some money, or at least until he understood the way this world worked a little better. Later that night, a beautiful girl with light blue hair and blue eyes was arguing with a brown-haired boy in a green tracksuit in the corner of the Adventurers Guild. I'm telling you, Kazuma. I sensed a huge amount of demonic energy earlier today. But I couldn't find the source, but I'm telling you, I sensed it. That's why you ran off, Aqua, because you suddenly took off running. I was late to bring the supplies, and the boss yelled at me again. All because you thought you sensed something with your former what's it called powers. I'm not lying. Maybe it was General from the Demon King's army looking for me. After all, I am a goddess. As in now. They must have sensed my holy presence. Aqua claimed loudly while slamming on the table. A Demon King army general. In the town farthest from the Demon King's castle. Yeah right. It was probably a new player with some hacks-like powers. Kazuma said and took a sip of his beverage, a self-satisfied look on his face. In fact, I think I bumped into the guy after you needlessly ran off. I showed him where the Adventurers Guild was and even lent him some money to get started like any good senpai would. Eh? Really? Who would have thought Stingizuma would part with his money so easily? Aqua retorted flatly while trying to sneak a hand towards Kazuma's plate while he wasn't looking, only to have it skillfully smacked by the other party. How rude. Don't call me Stingizuma just because I refused to lend you money. I was going to buy you that drink you wanted to try because I was in a good mood, but now I change my mind. Why? Besides, what if that guy wasn't even from Japan? Then that would mean you just gave your money to some random stranger for no reason. You could have bought me something with that money. Kazuma stopped drinking and calmly placed his cup on the table. He then looked at Aqua with a serious yet competitive expression. Wanna bet on it? Aqua returned the look in full. Next week's rent. The two then shook hands, both thinking that they had already won. After a couple days of solo hunting, Naruto sat at the bar with a cup full of something called Neroid juice. It was what the waitress had recommended since he didn't want alcohol. Having completed a silver wolf hunting quest by himself on the first day, Naruto had earned enough money to rent out a nice room at an inn for the week. He then went on a couple more monster hunting quests to save up for the trip he was planning to take to the next town, his eventual goal being the Demon King's castle. The other adventurers appeared to be avoiding him for some reason. Perhaps it was because he chose the adventurer class to spite them. Or maybe they were wary of him because of the time that he had wiped the floor with a certain delinquent adventurer who had picked a fight with him when he called the head receptionist Luna-chan. Naruto shrugged as he took a sip of the surprisingly delicious carbonated beverage. So what if he didn't make any friends in this town? It wasn't something he wasn't already used to, and he didn't plan on staying in town for very long anyway. Speaking of which, he had yet to see Kazuma again. Which was disappointing because Naruto wanted to pay the guy back before he left. I could always look for the guy, but what good would it do if Kazuma's in the middle of working? I can't just interrupt and get him in trouble just to say thanks. Naruto was pulled out of his thoughts when he felt a tap on his shoulder. Turning, he found Luna smiling at him. Are you done with your quest for today, Naruto-san? Yeah, I am. What's up, Luna-chan? Luna smiled wryly, remembering the uproar Naruto had caused in the guild when he first called her that. Not that she particularly minded. Naruto seemed like a nice guy and it saddened her whenever she saw him sitting alone. He had even completed a handful of durian quests on his own free will. Durian quests are the tedious jobs that are avoided like a plague in RPGs. It's named after a smelly fruit that tastes good. Lol. Whenever Luna brought up one of these quests around the other adventurers, they would quickly avert their gazes. So when she saw Naruto accept a durian quest and complete it in record time, she immediately jumped at the chance to ask him to take on more of them. Speaking of which, Luna lightly clasped her fingertips together and smiled apologetically. Could I trouble you for another favor? Later that evening, Naruto found himself standing in the middle of the town cemetery. According to Luna, a larger than usual amount of undead had been spawning recently. She said that it was likely the presence of a zombie maker, which was an evil spirit that possessed and controlled corpses. As the temperature began to fall with the setting sun, an eerie mist began to rise alongside the moon, which gave the area quite a spooky atmosphere. A bead of sweat formed on Naruto's brow as he stood in the middle of the steadily increasing darkness. Alone. Naruto had dealt with zombies before, what with Kabuto and his usage of the reanimation jutsu during the war. But the idea of an evil spirit that couldn't pass on. He didn't have any sealing jutsu, other than the one to make a basic storage scroll. Would he even be able to do anything about this ghost? What? Are you scared of a couple undead? Oh, of course not. This setting is just a little unsettling. Naruto snapped at the Biju as he heard the sound of dirt crumbling behind him. Something seemed to be coming out of the ground when a hand broke free, reaching into the air. Another hand broke out of the dirt right next to him, and Naruto stepped on it with his sandal out of reflex when it tried to grab him, earning a satisfying crunch. Like a scene straight out of a horror movie, more hands and eventually entire torsos began to rise from the earth. There's a lot of them, but it's nothing I can't handle. Naruto pulled out a small knife he'd purchased from a local blacksmith and got to work. He zipped through the undead that tried to grab him, all while chopping their heads off with precision. How did he know how to kill a zombie? He saw it in a movie once back in the Elemental Nations as a kid when he used to sneak into the theaters. Just as Naruto killed the last one, he heard a soft chuckle. Looking around for the source of the laughter, Naruto whirled around and spotted a floating figure holding a lantern. It looked like a skeleton wearing a cloak, only its lower half was gone as it hovered through the air in a wispy fashion. That must be the zombie maker. Having found his target, Naruto ran towards the cackling creature with his knife at the ready. The evil spirit noticed the shinobi at the last second, but it only had time to make a surprised screeching sound as the dagger seemingly phased right through its head. Eh? Naruto blinked as he stared at the surprisingly expressive zombie maker, with it staring right back at him with an equally surprised look. Naruto began to sweat bullets. His dagger had merely phased right through it, reminiscent of his first encounter with Obito. Realizing that it wasn't in any real danger, the zombie maker cackled some more and flew right through Naruto's torso. The cold shiver shot up Naruto's spine. That was a feeling he never wanted to experience again. The Jinchuriki turned around and watched as the spirit flew deeper into the graveyard. This is going to be a long night. Why are we in this creepy cemetery? I'm tired from working at the construction site. I want to go back to the guild and drink with everyone. The Kwa complained as she was unwillingly dragged through the cemetery. If you have the energy to complain, then you can work. The head receptionist said that this would be a good starting quest for us as adventurers because you were an archpriest and I couldn't just deny a favor from that pretty one-chan either. Azuma said while ignoring the scornful look Akwa was sending him. The pretty receptionist had personally asked him to complete the quest, so it had to be one of those events that he'd been craving for ever since coming to this world. Even if Akwa would technically be doing all the work. Besides, this is our first real job as adventurers. You're an archpriest who claims to be a goddess lol, and our opponents are undead. Theoretically speaking, this quest should be a piece of cake. Wah. Don't wanna. I'm fine with just being a construction worker. Azuma's eyebrow twitched as he stopped to turn around and look at his companion, who had fallen to the floor and started rolling around like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum. You stop whining and get to work, you useless goddess. Weren't you complaining about wanting to go home the other day? Fine. Do a good job, and I'll treat you to that Neroid stuff you wanted to try the other day. The Kwa stopped crying and looked up at Kazuma with a hint of suspicion in her eyes, as though she thought Kazuma was only saying that to get her to work. I'm not lying, okay? This quest has a pretty good reward, so you'll get your half, and I'll treat you to that drink. How does that sound? Fine. But what will Kazuma do? Surely there isn't anything a beginner like you can do against the undead. Oh, me? I'm staying right here. I don't want to accidentally mess up your exorcisms. You're right, and neat like you would only get in my way. Very well then. I'll show you the true power of a goddess. But that said, Aqua ran off into the cemetery. Where did all those complaints from earlier go? Azuma thought before he noticed something on the ground and yelped when he saw it was the decapitated head of an undead. Looking around, he noticed there were more heads and bodies scattered around the cemetery. Could it be that someone's already here? Nah. After all, the pretty receptionist Wani-chan entrusted this quest to me. Ahahaha. Azuma boasted before screaming like a little girl when a headless undead tugged on his pants. There's no end to these guys, and I can't hit that stupid spirit with any of my attacks. Naruto thought as he cut down another undead for the umpteenth time, all the while avoiding the evil spirit who was trying to phase through his body again. Who knows how many he killed, he had stopped counting after 50. Just how many corpses did this town have? If nothing else works, I'll just use Kurama's chakra and use my power against such an unworthy foe, and I will mince you. Kurama stated darkly, which caused Naruto to flinch. But the blonde quickly recovered and growled. Why? I can probably hit this thing if I use your chakra. Naruto thought as he weaved out of the way when the spirit attacked him again. Sucks to suck. You stupid fox. Naruto looked for a place to hide so he could come up with a better strategy. Finding a spot, he threw down a smoke bomb and body flickered away. The zombie maker waited for the mist to disappear. Seeing the blonde's absence, the ghost chuckled and left to create more undead. But upon turning around, it froze with a look of complete horror. Okay, weapons and ninjutsu don't work, and Kurama's being stingy with his chakra, I guess I can try sage mode. Naruto thought from his spot behind a large tombstone when the spirit's laughter suddenly ceased. He peeked out to see where the zombie maker had gone and found that it was frozen in place. Wondering why it went stagnant, he quickly noticed that a person was standing in front of it. It was a girl, perhaps the most beautiful girl Naruto had ever seen. She had blue waist-long hair that was tied up in a loop at the top, and she wore blue thigh-high boots and an extremely short dress. This woman's looks were clearly at the level of a goddess. She almost reminded him of Eris. But what captivated Naruto the most were the girl's eyes, which were a deeper blue than his. They were calm, yet determined at the same time as she stared down the evil spirit. Naruto was pulled out of his awe-stricken thoughts when the woman spoke. Forsaking the laws of the gods and raising the dead for your selfish desires. Naruto shielded his eyes when a bright magic circle formed above the girl's head and he felt his heart skip a beat when he saw the already beautiful woman showered in a heavenly aura. This energy, no doubt, that woman is. Kurama said with an annoyed tone of voice before he closed his eyes to get back to napping. The goddess, Naruto thought with a gaping mouth as he watched a girl, who was shrouded in that holy light, completed her exorcism. As the goddess of water, Aqua, I lay you to rest. Sacred turn undead. The zombie maker screeched in pain at first. But as the light consumed its form, it gained a peaceful expression before evaporating completely as its soul passed on to the next world. As the light faded, Naruto couldn't help but stare at the goddess before him in awe. The blue-haired girl let out a sigh before turning around and walking off into the night. After hearing nothing but silence for a solid minute, Kurama opened an eye and noticed that his retainer was staring into space. You okay, kid? Naruto blinked, quickly snapping out of a trance. Wow, yeah. I'm fine. Naruto then stood up and came face to face with a transparent woman. Eh? Ah. The two stared at each other for a couple seconds before they both screamed. Wah. It's another ghost. Hiya. It's a delinquent shamelessly playing around in a graveyard. Hey, I'm not a delinquent. And I'm not a ghost. Naruto deadpanned as he stared at the cloaked woman in front of him. Her skin was clearly transparent and he could almost see right through her. Without a doubt, this person was a ghost. If you're not a ghost, then why can I almost see through you? The woman looked like she was about to answer when she suddenly collapsed to her knees. Acting instinctively, Naruto leaned forward to catch the woman and found that he could touch her. Weird. Hey, are you alright? And why can I touch a ghost? I am not a ghost. Ugh. That woman that was here just a second ago, she released an extreme amount of holy energy. I thought my existence was going to fade away. Naruto frowned as he helped the lady back to her feet. Ghost or not, he couldn't stand seeing a girl in pain. Is there anything I can do to help? Why yes I need. The girl started mumbling and caressed Naruto's cheeks, causing the blonde to blush. NWH wait. Naruto stammered when she began to pull his face closer to hers. What was she planning to do? They only just met. Was she going to kiss him right here and now? Then, as their lips were about to touch, I need energy. Ah. Naruto felt a stinging sensation in his cheeks where the woman was touching him and he felt his energy being drained. I am so sorry. I thought I was about to disappear and you so kindly offered to help, but that doesn't excuse me using drain touch on you so suddenly. The woman, whose name Naruto now knew to be Wiz, frantically said as she bowed for the umpteenth time. Naruto looked down at the girl with a grumpy expression. That wasn't why he was angry. No, he was irritated because his feelings had been toyed with. Unintentional or not, you don't just go around making a guy think that you're about to kiss them like that. I really thought you were going to. It's fine. I don't mind if it was just a little of my energy being drained. Naruto finally said to stop the poor girl from prostrating herself in front of him and decided to look around the shop he had been brought to. Apparently, it was a magic item store that Wiz owned in the corner of the town and there were various items lining the shelves around the room. That much energy was nothing for Naruto-san. Wiz asked and looked up with teary eyes. As an experienced adventurer and mage, she felt a vast amount of magical energy emitting from him. Even if he was concealing most of it. There was also something deeper, something sinister, but it was hard to tell. Yeah, it's fine really. So please get up anyways, I'm surprised a lick is able to open up a shop in a town full of adventurers. Naruto said as he idly browsed through the merchandise, bringing the woman out of her thoughts. No one else besides Naruto-san knows of my true identity. If people knew I was a lick, it would surely cause a riot, but I wouldn't do anything to harm humans, so please don't tell anyone. Wiz said after standing up, only to immediately bow again. Naruto sweat-dropped as he thought of a way to handle the situation. This woman was honest to a fault, which was something he wasn't really used to dealing with. For now, please stop with all the formal stuff. I promise not to tell anyone, okay? Wiz looked up and smiled brightly. Thank you, Naruto-san. Sure. Naruto sat and scratched his cheek awkwardly. Growing a sudden interest in the magic items again, he grabbed an object off the shelf and showed it to Wiz. Hey Wiz. What does this item do? Oh, that. It's a potion that explodes when thrown or caught on fire. Each bottle is 20,000 eris. Naruto carefully placed the potion back on the shelf. What a dangerous item to just casually have on the shelves. One wrong move and the entire neighborhood was gone. Also, that was so expensive. That was more than he'd earned on his Silver Wolf extermination quest. What about this one? Naruto asked after grabbing a trinket from one of the baskets near the front of the store. Wiz clasped her hands together excitedly. I just had those shipped in. That one allows the user to use a lightning spell. But it consumes a lot of magic and ignites after a single use. Oh, that could be pretty useful. How much is it? Naruto asked, and Wiz beamed. Isn't it? It's 100,000 eris. That's so much. Naruto thought and placed the item back into the basket where he found it. It was probably a lost cause, but he decided to ask anyway. Anything you recommend for a solo hunter? Oh. Naruto-san is a solo hunter. Then, I would recommend this. Wiz walked across the room and came back with a small wooden box in her hands. This is a monster repellent music box. You wind it up before you go to sleep and it will keep the monsters away all night. The effects last for 12 hours each charge and it costs 200,000 eris. I'll go home. See you Wiz. Wait. Why are you leaving after looking at my merchandise like that? Wiz cried with teary eyes and grabbed onto Naruto's sleeve to keep him from leaving. After promising the airheaded store owner he'd come back another day, Naruto retired for the night. The next day, who was that girl? She took out that ghost that I couldn't even hit in an instant. Maybe I should ask her to teach me that skill if I ever see her again. Naruto found himself thinking about the blue-haired girl he saw the previous night as he drank his new favorite beverage, Naruto juice. He couldn't help it. The sweet carbonated drink was addictive. Although, what was a girl like that doing in a cemetery in the middle of the night? She was obviously an archpriest, and Naruto faintly remembered her saying something about a goddess named Aqua. But there was no way a goddess was here in this world, right? From his talk with Eris, he assumed the gods didn't want to directly interfere with human affairs. After all, what would be the point of sending people with powerful gifts to defeat the Demon King if the gods could just do it themselves? Maybe that girl was a person from another world and sent here with a gift from the gods like he was. As Naruto was trying to figure out the identity of the mysterious priestess, he heard a low rumbling sound in the backside of his mind. What's so funny, Kurama? Nothing. I just find it amusing that you've become so infatuated with that woman who saved your sorry ass from a simple ghost. Hey. I'm not infatuated with her. I was just wondering who she was is all, and besides, you didn't do anything to help with that ghost either. If you only just let me use your chakra, I could have. Sure, whatever you say. Naruto grumbled to himself as he chugged the remainder of his Naruto juice in one go. This stuff really is good, though I wonder how they make it. Naruto-san. Naruto looked up and saw the familiar side of Luna smiling at him, though her smile seemed a bit strange. Ah, sorry Luna-chan. Did you need something? That's okay. How did your quest go? I didn't hear back from you last night, so I was a little worried. Naruto nearly smacked his forehead. He forgot to check back in with Luna to tell her what had happened. Because of that whole thing with Wiz, it completely slipped his mind. Sorry, but I failed the quest. Luna seemed to be surprised by his answer, and Naruto nodded his head solemnly. Yeah, I couldn't hit that stupid ghost for some reason. Then this archpriest showed up and defeated it, but I don't think she even noticed me at all and left, so you should go ahead and give the reward to her. Naruto explained while scratching his whisker marks awkwardly. Even though I went to the trouble of sending the both of you on the same quest, but I guess that's why Kazuma-sen was demanding the entire reward. Luna thought before she sighed. Naruto and Kazuma had completely opposite personalities. That's okay, that priest is a member of the guild. I'll give her the rest of the reward later. Luna had given Kazuma the quest so he could meet up with Naruto. She had deliberately sent the two on the same quest because Naruto had been asking her about Kazuma and how he wanted to pay him back for something. She was worried about Naruto, who was always solo hunting, and Kazuma seemed like the closest thing Naruto had to a friend in town, and figured that the two might form a party if they met up again. How they didn't see each other during the quest was a headache that Luna wasn't willing to figure out. Naruto's eyes widened slightly as Luna walked back to the reception desks. So that archpriest was a member of the guild, then that would mean the likelihood of bumping into her was high. Ignoring the noisy fox, Naruto gestured towards one of the passing waitresses. Another Naruto juice over here, please. Hey, did you hear? Apparently, that Naruto guy is leaving town. Seriously? Must be searching for a challenge. He didn't really seem like a beginner adventurer, right? It's no wonder he doesn't talk to anyone other than Luna-san and the waitresses. Naruto frowned as he heard such things from his spot in the corner of the Adventurers Guild. People were always the same, judging someone before they even got to know them. But that didn't matter since he would be leaving the next morning anyway. Naruto drank the last of his favorite Naruto juice and stood up. He really needed to learn how to make that stuff. Well, I better go tell Wiz I'm leaving tomorrow. The clumsy shopkeeper was the only person Naruto could really consider a friend in this town, and he had been visiting the shop every day since meeting her. Luna had been kind to him, but even Naruto could tell she had mostly been using him to get rid of all the quests the other adventurers didn't want to do. Not that he blamed her. Some quests just needed to get done, and it seemed the adventurers in this town were pretty cozy. He had yet to see Kazuma or the archpriest that had saved him the other night, but Naruto decided that it was probably for the best. If he kept making friends in this town, then it would only make it harder for him to leave. Naruto was brought to this world to defeat the Demon King, and he wouldn't be able to do so from the town that was farthest away from the goal. Taking one last look at the guild hall he had grown accustomed to this past week, Naruto was hit by a wave of emotions. Despite him being alone the entire time, this place sure felt homey. What's the matter, guy? Luna-san shot you down again. Ha ha ha. An adventurer taunted at an attempt to get a rise out of the shinobi, and he and his party members bellowed with laughter. Maybe this place wasn't so homey after all. Ignoring the jeering adventurers, Naruto looked around the guild with a lonely expression before he left Samaras on the table and walked towards the exit. I'm off. Welcome Naruto-san. Wiz chirped and cheerfully waved to the familiar blonde who had just entered her store. It was still early in the morning and she was just opening the shop for the day. Hey Wiz. What you got there? Naruto asked as he took a seat at the table in the middle of the room. It's nothing. I was just about to send a letter to a friend. Growing suspicious, Naruto stood and walked towards the girl who had instantly responded with such a blatant lie. Who might this friend be? I thought Wiz said she didn't have any friends outside of town. Naruto-san, that's too mean. It's true that I said that, but hearing it from someone else is how I know. Don't read the letter. After reading the contents of the letter, Naruto looked down at Wiz who was in Caesar and fidgeting nervously. Wiz, is the shop not doing well? I've been dealing with red digits this month. That last shipment didn't do as well as I thought it would for some reason. Wiz explained with teary eyes and crossed his arms and frowned. No. That should be expected when selling such weird and expensive items in a town full of beginners. Naruto didn't have much experience in business, but even he could tell the adventurers of this town wouldn't be able to use most of these magic items, much less afford them. Who would buy an item that cost 50,000 eris when the average quest reward in town was 20,000 or so? That letter is for the bank to ask for more time I took out a loan because I thought I would make a big enough profit with this merchandise that I would be able to pay it back as well as this month's red digits, but there's no need to make that face. I made an order for an item that I know will sell. Wiz continued with a determined look in her eyes when she noticed the growing worry on the boy's face. What would that be? Naruto dared to ask, already knowing where this was leading. A set of potions that boosts one's stats for a short amount of time. But as a side effect, the drinker will become paralyzed from the neck down for a couple minutes. Stop, it's too pitiful. I'm sure the adventurers will make good use of these potions. Now then, I'll go make some tea. This girl is too honest. Naruto thought with a wry smile as Wiz left to go brew some tea. If this went on, that girl would surely lose the shop. Being one of the few people that had been kind to him in this city full of strangers, Naruto couldn't let that happen. This brought Naruto to one conclusion, and he stood up just as Wiz walked back into the room with the kettle. I guess I have no choice until you get back on your feet, I'll help out with the shop. Wiz placed the tea on the table and looked at Naruto in surprise. And no, I can't ask Naruto-san to do something like that. You don't have to worry about me, I have a plan. Besides, I wouldn't be able to pay you. If you're worried about paying me, it's no big deal. I've got enough errors from solo hunting these past couple days to last me a month or two. Besides, Naruto sat and scratched his cheek awkwardly. I can't just leave a friend of mine while they're in trouble. Naruto-san, Wiz said with teary eyes before she grabbed his leg and sobbed. Waha. Naruto-san is too kind. Whoa. That's dangerous, Wiz. I almost bumped into the shelf with the explosive potions. Naruto shouted as he pried the brunette from his leg. Leave it to one of the only ties he had in this town to keep him from leaving. Naruto had initially come to the store to tell Wiz that he was going, but ended up offering to help out in her store. Figures. Pushover. Shut up. Having decided to stay in town for a while longer, Naruto paid the innkeeper for another week's stay. He then walked to the Adventurers Guild to take on his daily quest. If he was going to be helping Wiz for free, then he'd better stock up on Samaras. So he told Wiz he that would quickly finish a quest and then come back to the shop to help. You're too soft, Naruto. You shouldn't have meddled in that useless shopkeeper's business. Instead, you should have left this worthless town. We have a goal, remember? To show this world what a true demon is. Whose goal is that? Anyway, don't call Wiz useless. I don't know what came over me earlier, but I couldn't just leave her like that, Naruto thought as he entered the Adventurers Guild. He didn't quite understand it, but whenever he saw Wiz, there was just something about her honest personality that made him want to help her. Maybe it was because she was so determined to help the adventurers in town with magic items. Well, it's too late to back out now. I promised to help Wiz get out of the red zone, and Uzumaki Naruto keeps his promises. No. Eh? Luna blinked. Did Naruto just refuse to do a quest? In the short time that she'd known the man, she had come to learn that Naruto flat out refused to back down from a challenge. No matter how hard, tedious, or cumbersome the quest sounded. To say Luna was surprised to hear that word coming out of Naruto's mouth was an understatement. Seeing the clear look of confusion on Luna's face, Naruto crossed his arms and sighed. There's a reason for this, but I can't accept this kill quest. Ah, is that so? Luna said with an awkward smile before shuffling through her notes. Then how about this one? It's a fetch quest that requires the gathering of 5 Venus hearts. A Venus heart is the fruit that a Venus flytrap produces after a long period of time. They are quite rare, but it makes for great fertilizer and therefore highly sought out by farmers. Naruto raised an eyebrow. A Venus flytrap? Did she mean those tiny houseplants one kept near a window and closed their mouths when you touched them? Haruka had one of those things in his apartment and would always yell at him when he touched their mouths for some reason. Sounds easy enough. Now, where can I find them? You can find Venus flytraps in the forest southwest of the town. But they are a very rare encounter, and finding one with fruit is even more uncommon. Naruto hummed in thought. I see, so that's why the other adventurers don't want to take this quest. It sounds like it could take a while. He planned to help Wiz with the shop later that day, and it was still early in the morning. If he hurried by using shadow clones, he could probably finish the quest by noon. Well, you have a couple days to complete the quest. So take your time and be careful. Luna said nervously and looked as though she wanted to say more about the quest, but she wasn't given a chance when Naruto suddenly turned towards the exit and waved. I'll be back later, see ya, Luna-chan. A bead of sweat rolled down Luna's face as the other adventurers sent heated glares at the shinobi. Was he doing that on purpose? But she was relieved that Naruto decided to stay, even if it was only for a little longer. Despite the boy not getting along with the other adventurers very well, his tenacity to complete quests every day was having quite a positive effect on them. Hence the reason why the only kill quest left this season was hunting toads, since it was their mating season. Standing in the middle of the forest just outside of town, Naruto crossed his fingers. Shadow clone jutsu. In a series of poofs. A couple dozen clones popped into existence. Facing his small army, Naruto pointed towards the deeper parts of the forest. Alright everyone, you know what to do. Let's find those fruits. Oh. The clones mock saluted before dispersing into the forest. Grinning in satisfaction, Naruto began to walk through the greenery by himself. With the use of his shadow clones, this search quest was going to be a piece of cake. It wasn't long after the start of his search when Naruto suddenly felt a couple of his clones dispersing, their memories flowing into his mind. Weird, most of the monsters in this area should have been cleared out by adventurers. Did they already find the fruits? As he was processing the memories, a dark figure loomed over Naruto's form. He could hear the bushes rustling softly behind him. Daring to turn around, Naruto came face to face with the largest Venus flytrap he had ever seen. The giant of a plant opened its jaws, and Naruto got a glimpse of a glowing object in the back of its mouth before he was forced to jump away. Landing on a tree, Naruto angrily stamped his foot on the branch. What the hell is this? How is that a Venus flytrap? That's a goddamn man-eating plant. Deciding that complaining wouldn't do him any good, Naruto brandished his knife and channeled some wind chakra into it. Man-eating plant or not, he'd dealt with much worse before. The Venus flytrap opened its jaws and made a hissing noise that sounded like it was roaring. Bring it on, you stupid vegetable. Naruto roared back and pounced on the carnivorous plant. By the time Naruto managed to collect the 5 Venus hearts, it was half past noon. A little later than he'd hoped, but not bad at all. Luna-chan has some explaining to do, Naruto thought with a twitching eyebrow as he looked at the tears in his jacket. After Eris had gone to the trouble of patching it up for him too, as much as he disliked the idea of wearing something else, he needed some new clothes. During the search, Naruto had somehow ended up closer to the western entrance to the town. This was the entrance Naruto tried to avoid the most because of the frequent giant toad sightings. Due to his pact with the toads of Mount Mamboku in his past life, Naruto refused to kill the giant toads. Gamakichi, and the chief toad Gamabunta. He missed the toads he had spent so much time with. In fact, he almost cried when he saw fried toad meat on the menu back at the Adventurers Guild. As Naruto tracked the open plane towards the town in the distance, he suddenly felt a familiar energy signature. Scanning area for its source, Naruto spotted a giant toad. Standing in front of the toad was, oh. It's that archpriest. Naruto said as a wave of excitement washed over him. But that feeling died in an instant as the blue-haired priest was now inside of the toad's mouth. Aqua. Kazuma screamed as he ran towards the giant toad that had just eaten his partner. Stupid useless goddes lol, getting devoured right after boasting like that. But now that the toad wasn't moving, he'd be able to strike it and it all happened in an instant. Kazuma had blinked when he reached the toad and was about to strike with his short sword, and when he had opened his eyes again, there was a man shrouded in golden energy and strange black markings standing in front of him. The golden man's arm flickered and Aqua, along with the contents of the giant toad's stomach, erupted into the air. By the time Kazuma stopped and widened his eyes, Aqua had fallen into the man's arms, bridal style, and the toad was halfway across the field. Oobleh. Kazuma was about to ask who the person was when he was covered by the toad mucus that had erupted from the monster, along with Aqua. Feeling a warmth that was different from the toad's mouth, Aqua fluttered her eyes open. Hey, you okay? Aqua's eyes went wide when she heard the stranger's voice and noticed that said person was holding her. The only reason she wasn't freaking out was because the person had such a calm expression. His golden features were bright like the sun, and his red-orange eyes had a warmth to them that made her feel safe. At that moment, Aqua felt as though she was being carried by a fellow god. Why yes thank you. Aqua stuttered and bashfully averted her gaze. Kazuma, who had been watching the whole time on the ground after wiping the slime off of his face, cocked his head to the side. Aqua, the girl that was as obnoxious as a rooster in the morning, stubborn as a mule, and dumb as they came that Aqua looked like that. Who was that cute girl? Where could he find one? Can you put me down? Oh. Yes, of course. When Aqua was on her feet, she kept her gaze low. Kazuma, deciding he'd seen enough of this strange Aqua, stood up and made his presence known by roughly wiping the toad mucus from his clothes. Thank you for helping us, but who are you? Kazuma asked, and as if noticing him for the first time, the glowing person blinked in surprise. Kazuma. Yes, I'm Kazuma. Kazuma said out of reflex. Did he know this strange glowing man? What was with that glowingness anyway? It's me. Ah. You probably don't recognize me in this form. The man said and the golden energy that surrounded his form faded out of existence. Oh, Naruto. Kazuma balked, his eyes lighting up in recognition as he instantly recognized the person. Naruto grinned from being recognized. It was then, ah. This energy I'm sensing a devil. Wah. Aqua suddenly started shouting and pounced on Naruto. Aqua. What are you doing to the person that just saved you? Kazuma shouted, but his words fell onto deaf ears. Kazuma. This person is a devil. Aqua continued shouting as she held the boy down. Eh? No, wait. Naruto tried to reason with the girl, but she kept speaking over him. I couldn't sense it a second ago for various reasons, but this man reeks of demonic energy. Let me explain. The Demon King must have known I was here and sent this man to seduce me. It almost worked, but luckily the great me saw right through your trap. How dare you play with the feelings of a sensitive maiden? Aqua, who was now straddling a very confused Naruto, made such outrageous claims. What? Almost sensitive. These were the questionable words that stood out to Kazuma as he watched the scene in front of him unfold. What happened to that cute girl from just a second ago? I'm not a devil, Naruto said meekly as he averted his gaze from the girl who was wearing a very short skirt. His arms were pinned to his sides by Aqua's thighs, so the only thing he could do now was look away. See? He looked away. That means he's lying. Aqua roared and began to shake Naruto by the collar. No, he's looking away for another obvious reason, Kazuma retorted while smiling bitterly. He needed to put an end to this, otherwise that idiot of a goddes lol would continue to misunderstand the situation and Naruto might be in trouble for another reason. What we saw was probably his hack's power. You know, the thing you said I could have brought to this world. To think, I made the mistake to choose you as my thing. Hack's power. Naruto thought with a raised eyebrow. Did Kazuma know about Kurama? First the initial fee for the guild and now this. Just how much did Kazuma know? Listen here, continue to disrespect a goddess by calling the great me a thing and you will receive divine retribution. Hold on a second, Aqua. I really am human, I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth, I promise. Naruto frantically said when the girl turned her angry gaze towards him again. He knew full well what happened if you made a girl angry and he did not want to make this girl on top of him any more upset than she already was. Oh yeah? Well then, shall we put that to the test? If you truly are human like you say, then you won't be affected by my sacred purification. Aqua challenged and raised her hands into the air. Kazuma, who was about to smack Aqua upside the head, paused in thought. Normally, he would stop such a stupid test. But when Naruto isn't affected by the spell, then Aqua would give up on this nonsense on her own free will. No headache needed. Huh? Naruto made a questioning noise, not understanding what the girl was about to do. Aqua, still sitting on top of Naruto, recited a short prayer. The same magic circle Naruto saw that night at the graveyard appeared and an enormous amount of energy began to flow into it. Sacred purification. Kazuma shielded his eyes when the brilliance of the holy magic consumed them all. When the light dimmed down, Aqua confidently looked down and expected to see a pile of ashes. But what she didn't expect to see was Naruto, very much still intact and staring up at her with a mixed look of confusion and embarrassment. As if she just realized the position she was in, Aqua scrambled off the blonde and pointed at him with a shaky finger. I don't know how you managed to avoid being purified, but mark my words, Ak. Aqua held her head in pain when Kazuma suddenly smacked her. Alright, that's enough, you stupid girl. Can't you see Naruto wasn't affected by your spell in the slightest? He's not a devil, so get that through your thick skull already. Naruto stood up and laughed awkwardly as he dusted himself off. With that over with, maybe he'd finally be able to talk with these two normally. Naruto. Give me control of your body so that I may teach that self-proclaimed goddess the true meaning of suffering. Hey Kurama. Naruto thought when he heard the enraged fox's demand. Come to think of it, he did hear someone shouting when the spell was being casted. Was Kurama affected by Aqua's spell? Aha. I can sense a great deal of malice coming from this man. Stand aside, Kazuma. This time I'll we. Aqua started shouted obnoxious things even after all of that, so Kazuma smacked her on the head again before turning to Naruto. What was that glowing power? Did you get it from a god or goddess? Yeah, something like that. I have a 9-tailed fox demon named Kurama sealed inside of me and I can draw from his power. But how did you know? Kazuma nodded, a knowing smirk on his face. Aqua probably forgot about their little bet, but he would make sure to remind her that he won. This may come to a surprise to you, but I am also from Japan. I too died a heroic, comical death. While Kazuma was giving Aqua a verbal lashing which ended up with them in a minor scuffle, Naruto tilted his head in confusion. What's Japan? Kazuma and Aqua, amid their little battle, stopped and looked at each. Nah, Kazuma. Does this mean I win the bet? Hell no. After a quick visit to the town's public bathhouse to wash off the toad mucus, Kazuma and Aqua met up with Naruto at the Adventurers Guild. So let me get this straight, just like me, you were sent to this world by a goddess to defeat the Demon King, but you're not from Japan. You do have blonde hair and blue eyes. Are you from America or Europe? Kazuma asked as he tried to wrap his head around the situation. Nope. Never heard of em. Naruto said with a wave of his hand as he sent occasional glances at Aqua, who was currently fiddling with a straw and paying zero attention to the conversation. Kazuma hummed and calmly rubbed his chin and thought. He wasn't the type to overreact to something like this, especially when entities such as gods and goddess were involved. After all, he himself was just reincarnated into another world from Japan. It wouldn't be too far-fetched for Naruto to be from yet another world. How very fantasy-like. Where are you from then? Kazuma decided to keep the ball rolling to see what kind of world Naruto came from then. The elemental nations. Naruto answered absent-mindedly while watching Aqua work on the straw, causing a tick mark formed on Kazuma's forehead. Aqua, pay attention and stop distracting Naruto. This has to do with you too. Don't wanna No, I'm not finished yet. Aqua wailed when Kazuma snatched the straw out of her hands and she started bobbing at the boy's head comically. Naruto chuckled as he watched the two fight until Aqua somehow managed to retrieve her straw. So I take it you're from this Japan place, Kazuma. Kazuma rubbed his head as he sent the priest, who immediately went back to her craft, an annoyed expression before turning back to Naruto and nodding. Yeah, but to think there are even more worlds out there besides my old home and this world. It's really just like a video game. Kazuma exclaimed in excitement. He was really starting to feel that fantasy world vibe again. As expected of Kazuma, whose previous life was merely that of a NEET, comparing the real world to a video game is hey. No, I'm sorry. Stop it, Kazuma. It's gonna break. Kazuma-san. Aqua mocked when Kazuma lunged for the straw again and she started pleading with teary eyes. Kazuma let go of Aqua's strange-looking straw before crossing his arms. He was getting sidetracked because of this dumb girl. If she didn't want to listen, then so be it. What kind of world did you come from? It was a basic question, but Kazuma was curious as to how Naruto's world differed from this fantasy one in Japan. I guess it's kinda like this world, but we didn't have a king and we didn't use magic. We ninja live in hidden villages and use chakra. Naruto said, giving a brief description of his world and forming a hand sign as a visual. You're a ninja? Kazuma questioned incredulously as he appraised the alleged shinobi's attire. The guy was wearing a headband with a strange symbol, but with those orange clothes coupled with his bright blonde hair, then there was also that bright golden energy power he used earlier. Nope. Kazuma just couldn't see it. Noticing the doubt on Kazuma's face, Naruto began to fume. I'm really a ninja, you know. I might look like this, but I could hide from some of the village's top ninja when I was 12. I even stole the forbidden scroll of sealing and learned a jutsu from it in one night. Naruto boasted while sticking a thumb on his headband proudly. Were you wearing orange back then too? Yes. Azuma gained a sour look. He had grown excited when Naruto mentioned a hidden village of ninja, but that excitement immediately died down when he heard the top ninja of the village couldn't capture a blonde child wearing bright orange clothes. What kind of ninjas were they training in that hidden village? How could they let something that significant fall into the hands of a child? Were they stupid? Azuma was beginning to doubt the man in front of him. Was this person really from a ninja village? As if hearing the thoughts of disbelief in Kazuma's head, Naruto's face turned red with anger. But before he had the chance to defend his old home, Aqua held something out to him from across the table. Sorry for the wait, but it's finished. Aqua chirped and seemed to be very proud of her handiwork. Naruto blinked in confusion, but ultimately accepted the strange-looking object without much thought. It looked like the straw Aqua had been fiddling with earlier, but the thing in Naruto's hands looked so multifaceted that one could not simply call it a straw anymore. What is this? It's a straw, but no ordinary straw. That straw is an ancient artifact that grants the user entertainment while drinking from it. Aqua explained while nodding her head confidently. Ancient relic. Didn't you say you just finished making it? Azuma retorted out of reflex, but kept it to himself since he was curious to see what Aqua had made. She was utterly useless most of the time, but this girl had a strange knack for arts and crafts. What does it do? Naruto asked as he continued to look at the supposed straw in his hand. Upon further inspection, it had the shape of a person, which baffled Naruto. The straw had only been a couple inches long, so how did she manage to make this thing? Fufu order us some more drinks and find out. Aqua answered with a gleeful expression, then downed the rest of the drink Naruto had ordered for her earlier. Naruto called for the waitress and had her bring them more drinks. Upon their arrival, he then stuck the straw into his Naruto juice and drank from it. Wow, how is that even possible, Aqua? This is actually amazing. Azuma shouted at Aqua, shocked that the girl was able to make such a thing. Naruto's eyes were wide as well. He swallowed his beverage and looked at Aqua in awe. How did you make something like this? It's amazing, right? You can praise me more. Aqua soaked in the compliments with a smug look of self-satisfaction. When Naruto drank from the straw, the Naruto juice gave it a yellow appearance, and they were able to see what the shape was more clearly. The straw seemed to be shaped like Naruto, and it very closely resembled his chakra form due to the yellow-orange nature of the beverage. But something like this shouldn't have been impossible with a regular straw. Shaking his amazement away, Naruto put his drink down. Thanks for this, but why? To thank you for saving me, of course. That artifact is probably worth at least 100 drinks. So I wouldn't mind if you treated me to a couple more. Aqua mumbled before adding the last bit haughtily. Alright, Naruto said and looked at Kazuma, who merely shrugged. Aqua was a lot different than Naruto had imagined her to be. When he first saw the girl at the cemetery and how elegantly she'd purified the zombie maker, he thought she was going to be a kind girl with a gentle personality. A classic personality for a priest. Boy, was he wrong. Oh well, this Aqua isn't so bad. She may have a weird personality, but I can't really hate her for that. Plus, she seems to get along just fine with Kazuma. Naruto thought, a small smile growing on his lips. Azuma watched Naruto's facial expression change from trouble to a look of acceptance, but then it went back to troubled again when Aqua told the waitress to put the bill for the drink she had just ordered onto Naruto's tab. Did he just accept Aqua's personality? No. That was no good. As someone who had spent more than a week with the girl, Kazuma wouldn't let his kohai fall into that trap. Aqua's the kind of person that takes advantage of other people's kindness. Naruto seems like the kind of guy who would easily fall for such traps. So, as any kind and thoughtful senpai would do, I'll make sure that doesn't happen. Azuma thought while staring at the self-proclaimed goddess who was getting drunk off of booze in the afternoon with contempt. She was even being treated by the person that saved her. Nah, Kazuma hic. Why are you looking at me like I'm some hopeless problem child? I haven't done anything wrong hic. Yet. Azuma bowed his head slightly to Naruto apologetically, and the blonde merely tilted his head in confusion. After Aqua got sick from drinking too much and ran outside, Kazuma said he and the thing he brought to this world would be doing more hunting quests for the guild and that they would probably see each other more often before chasing after his party member. The reason they hadn't seen each other at the guild at all was because of the nature of the construction work that Kazuma and Aqua had been doing. The two would wake up at dawn and finish by sundown. Naruto stood up and was about to go turn in his quest from earlier when he was stopped by a waitress. She was looking at him with a smile that almost seemed apologetic. As he wondered why the girl was looking at him that way, he remembered the bill. Ah, right, the cost of the alcohol that Aqua had ordered was the same as an entire reward from one of his solo hunting rewards. Naruto grumbled and reluctantly pulled some Eris out of his new wallet that was coincidentally made to look like a giant toad from this world. With Gama-chan now retired as an heirloom, Kari-chan was born. That was the last time he was treating that girl to alcohol. You see, brat. Gods and goddesses are nothing but trouble. You should just forget about that woman and go to the next town already. And leave Wiz behind with all that debt. Not gonna happen. Naruto responded in his mind and walked towards the receptionist desk. Hello, Naruto-san. Thank you for your hard work today. Luna cheerfully said when Naruto stopped in front of her desk. Of course. You can leave any of the unwanted quests to me, Luna-chan. Naruto claimed in a voice loud enough for the rest of the guild hall to hear, and he could already feel the heated glares from the other adventurers on his back. He felt like letting out some steam and decided to annoy the adventurers while teasing Luna. My goodness. You look like you had a rough time all by yourself, Naruto-san. Luna's smile became a bit strained when she noticed the tears in Naruto's jacket. Man, I underestimated those Venus flytraps. One nearly chomped my arm off. Hahaha. Naruto said and rubbed the back of his head with a hearty laugh. I remember suggesting that you should form a party. Luna mumbled while averting her gaze slightly, and Naruto felt like he had her on the ropes. Yeah, but now that I know more about those dumb plants, they won't get the drop on me. One final pull. Too bad my favorite jacket is ruined, but I guess it's better than losing my arm or I'm sorry I didn't properly warn you. Luna suddenly shouted, stopping Naruto stopped mid-sentence. Wait, what? He was only teasing her a little. Why were her eyes tearing up? Luna bowed her head and continued. I had a feeling you didn't know about the abnormally large Venus flytraps in this area, but you just left and I thought you would be okay, since your stats are so high. What a foolish thing. Wait, it's not a big deal, Naruto said in an attempt to stop the receptionist who was starting to break character, but Luna just kept shouting with teary eyes. But then I began to worry that Naruto-san wouldn't come back and it would be all my fault. But all I can do as a receptionist is wait here and pray for your safety. Naruto fell silent as the stares around him began to turn into scornful ones. Now Naruto-san probably hates this irresponsible receptionist who makes such dangerous assumptions. I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize anymore. Naruto sighed as he walked down the street towards Wiz's magic shop. Luna had completely turned the situation around in her favor and Naruto couldn't do a thing about it. The power of a woman's tears were frightening. Walking up the steps to the shop and opening the door, Naruto spotted Wiz organizing some of the merchandise on the back shelves. Wiz didn't seem to notice him and Naruto didn't want to surprise her while she was handling such dangerous potions, so he leaned against the door frame to wait until she was finished. Wiz began to hum peacefully, which caused Naruto to smile. The scene in front of him just seemed to fit. This clumsy shopkeeper may have atrocious business tactics, but she enjoyed what she was doing and Naruto didn't want to see that happiness torn away from her because of some red digits. Seemingly satisfied with her work, Wiz turned towards the front of the little shop and jumped in surprise when she finally noticed the blonde. And Naruto-san. Sorry, I was afraid you would drop a potion if I startled you. You should really get a bell for the door. Naruto apologized and pulled the table from the corner of the store to the middle of the room. Wiz pouted with puffy cheeks. If her heart was still beating, it'd probably be throbbing right now. Honestly, you shouldn't tease a girl like that. We may look cute and helpless, but take it too far and you'll be sorry. I believe you. Now then, what can I do to help? Naruto laughed and took a seat at the table. Wiz smiled, remembering the things Naruto said before and tapped her chin and thought. Could I ask you to sweep the front of the store? While you're doing that, I can tell you about some ideas that I've come up with. Naruto nodded and looked for the broom, spotting it behind the counter. Grabbing it, he started sweeping the front of the store. While he was cleaning, a nostalgic smile stretched across his features. This kinda brings back memories, you know. I used to sweep for my favorite food shop when I didn't have any money. Really? What kind of food was it? Wiz asked curiously as she grabbed a notebook she'd been jotting her ideas in. Ramen, of course. Naruto revealed with a toothy grin, and that got him thinking. He hadn't had ramen at all since I came to this world. Maybe tonight I'll ask the waitresses if they. What's ramen? Wiz asked with her head tilted and Naruto face faulted. Supporting himself on the broom, Naruto looked at Wiz with a crooked smile. Noodles, miso soup, you know. Ramen. The food of the gods. Wiz tilted her head the other way and hummed. Nope. Even back in my adventuring days, when I traveled all over the country, I never once heard of such a food. Naruto's blood ran cold. He had been so caught up in learning about this new world that he hadn't even thought of the possibility that this world might not even have ramen. Wiz, oblivious to Naruto's twitching form, began to flip through her notebook. So, the first idea I came up with was ordering a specially made set of magic items. I know an arch-wizard from the Crimson Demon Village who. Wah. We can't beat the toads by ourselves. Let's recruit more party members. Azuma told Aqua with a serious expression. After a second attempt at fighting the giant toads for their kill quest, the two went back to the guild to come up with a better strategy. They had 3 days to kill 5 toads, and they only killed 1 toad because Naruto had knocked it out. Azuma had gone back and finished the job, while Naruto was waiting for them at the Adventurers Guild. Gaining a third party member was the obvious choice to overcome this obstacle. Leave it to me. If I make the request, people will be lining up to join us because I'm an archpriest. We're in high demand, you know. Aqua claimed and rushed off to gather the materials needed to make a request form. Should I really leave it to that girl? Meh, it's only a party invitation. Even Aqua should be able to at least do a simple task like that, Azuma thought with a short nod. It was better for Aqua, who held a higher class than him, to make the invitation anyway. Because who would want to join a party with someone who held the weakest job? While Azuma was reassuring himself, the guild doors opened and he saw a gloomy teenage boy with his head drooped slowly walk inside. Naruto. What's wrong with him? Azuma thought when Aqua suddenly slammed her hands onto their table, shocking the teen. Azuma. I've really outdone myself this time. Just wait, people will be lining up outside the door to join my party. When did this become your party? By the way, you seem awfully excited about this. What happened to the whiny girl that wanted nothing more than to go home? But whatever. Why don't we just ask Naruto to join us? Azuma retorted before making the obvious suggestion. Inviting Naruto into the party should have been a no-brainer. Kazuma couldn't exactly say they were friends because they'd only had 2 conversations, but the guy did save Aqua. Since Naruto had a gift from the gods, it was safe to assume he was strong. Plus, there were rumors going around that Naruto was a solo hunter. So that meant he wasn't already in a party. Eh? But I already went to the trouble of making that invitation form, we should wait to see who answers to my call. Aqua said with a shrug and drank from her cup, which prompted Kazuma to raise an eyebrow. That's a surprise, I thought you would be all for asking Naruto to join us. You like him, don't you? Aqua spewed the contents of her drink into Kazuma's face. You. Who likes who? How could a goddess such as myself fall for a mortal? If anything, I'm sure Naruto has fallen head over heels over my beauty. Aqua stated confidently and gestured to herself, while Kazuma grumpily wiped his face with a napkin. Don't give me that crap. When Naruto saved you from being eaten by that toad yesterday, you completely broke character saying thank you for saving me, all shy and cutesy like a heroine in a girl meets boy manga. Azuma fired back with an exaggerated imitation of Aqua's voice, causing the girl's face to burn bright red. Girl meets boy. Aqua screeched in disbelief. While the two continued to argue, Naruto dragged his feet to the reception desks. He was too engrossed in his thoughts to hear what they were saying. Ramen, no more ramen, ramen. Naruto continuously thought until he stopped at the desk and leaned onto the counter, tapping the bell to call Luna over. Upon seeing the shinobi when she walked over to the receptionist counter, Luna's eyes flashed with concern. Which was only natural given the state Naruto was in. The boy looked like he hadn't slept in days, which didn't make any sense since she saw him just yesterday. His typically cheerful eyes looked dead on the inside, as if he had seen the depths of hell. I was wondering why you didn't show up at the usual time this morning, what happened? You look awful, Luna asked, her concern written all over her normally professional features. Naruto strained a smile. Do you know what ramen is? Ramen? No, I'm sorry. That's okay, it's a food from my country. But no one knows what it is, much less how to make it. I spent half of my savings on ingredients to try and make it myself last night and this morning, but all my attempts were so bad that I threw up 5 times doing taste tests. One was so bad I even passed out. I see, Luna responded and smiled bitterly. This was a little concerning. No, it was more than a little concerning. Naruto was always bright and full of energy, even after completing hard and tedious durian quests. Just what was this ramen stuff to him that had put him in such a state? While the receptionist tried to think of a solution, Naruto sighed. Wiz closed the shop for the day because she was going to visit some magic item maker she had mentioned, so Naruto had used that time to search for any leads on ramen. This was the last place in town he could think of that might have his favorite food, or at least someone who knew of it. Not being able to stand seeing the normally energetic Naruto like this anymore, Luna put on a reassuring smile. I'm sorry I can't be of much help in that regard, but might I suggest learning the cooking skill from a local chef? You can improve your cooking skills the more you level it up, the receptionist suggested, and the boy's face suddenly lit up again. That's it. Of course I have no other choice than to just make it myself. I'll learn the cooking skill later, but first I need to regain the funds I lost. Hook me up with another quest, Luna-chan. Oh okay. There have been sightings of a rookie killer a couple miles north of town, but it's in the mountains, and the terrain is volatile. Surprised by the sudden change of emotion, Luna blurted out a random quest off the top of her head. I'll take it. In the mountains to the north, right. I'll hurry up and be back by tonight. Luna's eyes widened when Naruto made such a ridiculous claim. Tonight it almost takes an entire day to get there by foot and hunting a rookie killer is no joking matter. Even with your high stats, it's still dangerous. I highly suggest forming a party for this quest, Naruto-san. No way. If I form a party then I'll have to split the reward, right? I need all the money I can get for ingredients to make my ramen. Understand? Good. See you later Luna-chan, and thanks for the advice. Naruto explained before he turned around and left, leaving the very confused receptionist behind. Snapping out of her stupor, Luna ran after the teen. She knew Naruto wasn't going to back down, so she would help him out the only way she could. By giving him information. Wait. At least take this. It's a book containing information on the monsters around this part of the kingdom. Stopping at the guild's entrance, Naruto turned back and accepted the offered book. Flipping through the pages, he stopped when he saw a familiar man-eating plant. There was an entire page of information regarding the Venus flytraps, and Naruto assumed the book also contained information on the rookie killer. Naruto sent Luna a flat look. This would have been useful yesterday. New members usually form parties with experienced adventurers and learn about the monsters from them. But since you've been solo hunting this entire time, Luna trailed off and made an apologetic hand gesture. Naruto sighed and waved the apology off. It's okay, I already have experience with giant monsters anyway. Those Venus flytraps were nothing compared to some of the beasts I've seen. As Naruto left while laughing heartily, Luna found herself wondering just what kind of country the boy was from. With that blonde hair and blue eyes, she had guessed he was of nobility at first. But the boy's mannerisms were a little. Just as Naruto was about to open the guild doors and leave, he heard a familiar voice call out to him. Hey Naruto. Hang on a second. Turning around, Naruto found Kazuma and Aqua walking up to him. Kazuma was waving at him while Aqua was looking away for some reason. Perhaps they got into an argument. Hey guys, what are you doing here? I thought you would already be continuing your quest by now. We were, but the quest we took is a little rough for just the two of us, so we're recruiting more members. Would you like to join our party? Kazuma asked while averting his gaze awkwardly. It killed him to have to ask his kohai for assistance, but he was left with few options. Still, he'd rather swallow his pride than be consumed by giant toads. Naruto's eyes widened slightly before they went back to normal. Forming a party with these two sounded like fun, but Naruto had already taken a quest from Luna and he really needed funds for his ramen. Sorry, but I already took a quest for today and was just about to head out. Maybe next time though. I see, guess there's no helping it. Kazuma said and rubbed the back of his head. He was just rejected by his kohai. No, it was only natural for someone powerful to reject a party invitation from amateurs like them. They would probably just hold Naruto back in his quests. Kohai. Kazuma felt stupid for thinking that he was this man's superior for even a second. Naruto may be new to this world just like him, but if what the blonde had said about coming from a ninja village was true, then he was no amateur. It was then Aqua stepped forward and looked Naruto straight in the eye, flustering the boy and causing him to unconsciously take a step back. I guess I have no choice. Naruto, will you join my party to defeat the giant toads? No. Why would Aqua asking this time change my answer? Naruto's words fell on Aqua like a cement block and she dropped to her hands and knees from the weight of his rejection. And no, I guess it wouldn't. She got rejected too, poor fellow. Kazuma thought and stifled his laughter when Aqua started mumbling to herself. Oh well, this outcome was to be expected. It's not like they were friends with Naruto anyway and they still had their party invitation on the board. Aqua sprung back up with teary eyes. Why? I was the one who asked this time, so you should have instantly changed your mind and accepted. Apologize. Apologize for declining a request from a goddess. What, but I already said I accepted another quest, returning it would be rude. Naruto responded while putting his hands up in defense. He felt bad about rejecting their offer, but what was this girl going on about? Actually, was this girl really a goddess? She had the same holy aura as Eris, but she sure wasn't acting like her. Well, I'm sorry I can't join you guys this time. But I gotta leave now if I wanna complete my quest by tonight. See ya. He ran away. Wait. Aqua demanded in a failed attempt to stop the fleeing blonde, but he was long gone. My charms as a goddess had no effect. Aqua mumbled and visibly deflated. There. Kazuma patted the girl on the shoulder, only to jolt when she suddenly sprang back up. No. It's impossible for my divine charms to fail. He's probably just shy. Yeah, that's it. Poor man, he couldn't muster the courage to be in the same party as the beautiful and kind archpriest Aqua-sama. Aqua boasted while shaking her head. But wasn't it the other way around? Just how self-absorbed could this woman be? These were the thoughts in Kazuma's mind as he continued to listen to Aqua's little rant. He hoped the person that responded to their party invite wasn't as troublesome as this girl. A few hours later, well, that might have been overkill, Naruto said as he leapt through the trees in the direction of the town. With a bit of hustling, he managed to get to the mountainous region in just a couple hours. A day's trip by foot in a few short hours was nothing for the son of the Yellow Flash. Finding the target had been simple enough too. The book stated rookie killers herded mobs of goblins or other weak monsters to lure in newbie adventurers, then attack the unsuspecting prey. Hence the name Rookie Killer. After finding a group of goblins in the mountains, Naruto killed a few to draw out the rookie killer. When the beast finally showed up and attacked him, Naruto sent it hurtling off the cliffside with a single Rasengan. Even the massive feline was no match for gravity. It was nice that he didn't even need anything extra to prove that he killed the beast. He simply needed to show the guild members the recent kills on his adventurer's card and they'd hand over the reward money. He didn't know how it worked, but magic was convenient. Jumping from branch to branch, Naruto was nearing the town when he suddenly heard a shout. Coming to a stop, Naruto scanned the area for the owner of the voice. He eventually found a woman with long blonde hair clad in heavy silver armor facing off against a silver wolf. She wielded a broad two-handed sword tightly in her hands as she kept her distance from the growling beast. This woman was obviously an adventurer. Naruto debated whether or not to jump in and help. Since this woman was an adventurer, she was likely out here training. He didn't want to steal away her experience points by killing the wolf. Deciding to wait and see how things played out, Naruto leaned against the tree and watched. If the woman needed help, then he would jump in. The silver wolf decided to attack and rushed in to bite, prompting the Night Slider foot back in preparation to slash. Swoosh. Naruto raised his eyebrows when he heard the sound of the two-handed sword cut through the air. To be able to swing a sword of that size with that much speed was impressive. The wolf managed to avoid the blade and pounced for another attack. Swoosh. Swoosh. Ching. Arg. My sword got stuck. Ah. Don't come near me with those beastly eyes. Naruto sweat-dropped as he watched the scene before him unfold. The woman had missed another couple swings before lodging her sword into a nearby tree. Naruto was no expert in kenjutsu, but even he could tell this woman had no swordsmanship. He must have been distracted by the speed she was swinging the sword to not notice at first. The wolf began to close in on the girl who had yet to pull her sword from the tree, so Naruto decided to move out. No. Stay back, you foul beast. Damn it. If only my sword hadn't gotten stuck, then I could have avoided being ravaged by this beast. What? Naruto thought as he landed on top of the silver wolf's head, killing it instantly. He then looked up at the girl who had just braced herself to be attacked and found that she was smiling. The female knight opened her eyes when the attack never came and found the shinobi staring at her. The atmosphere suddenly growing awkward, Naruto scratched his cheek. Were you smiling just now? No, I wasn't. The woman denied. Naruto sent his fellow blonde a flat look and pressed on. Yes, you were. I saw you smiling when I jumped in. I was in quite a pinch there, so thank you for helping me. Who knows what might have happened if you hadn't been around. The knight said and grabbed onto her sword with both hands. She changed the subject, Naruto thought with a bead of sweat trailing down his cheek as the woman finally pried the weapon from the tree with seemingly minimal effort. Was that sword actually stuck? I was on my way back from a quest when I heard you shouting. Were you out here training? Sorry if I took your kill. Yes, I was training with a friend. We were supposed to be heading back to the Adventurers Guild when we got separated and I was attacked by that silver wolf. My name is Darkness. What is your name? My name is Naruto. Are you a beginner adventurer too? Naruto asked the now named Darkness while laying the woman's sword. Darkness seemed to have noticed his stares and blushed. Yes, although I am ashamed to say, my swordplay is close to non-existent, but my defense is second to none. I hold the Holy Vanguard job of Crusader. The knight sheepishly explained before boasting proudly about her defenses. Ah, so I was spot on, Naruto thought as Darkness rambled on about her resistances. She seemed like a nice girl, but there was something off about that smile Naruto saw earlier. Who smiled when they were about to be attacked by a wolf? Did she have a secret plan that he hadn't noticed? Deciding it would be better not to delve on it, Naruto angled himself towards the town. Well, it was nice meeting you, Darkness. But I gotta get back to the guild and turn in my quest. Ah, yes of course. Sorry for keeping you for so long. Perhaps we'll see each other at the guild. Darkness stuttered and tapped her fingers together nervously. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. Why was she nervous? Was this girl not used to talking to other people? This must be what people called an uncivilized person. Putting on a cheeky grin, Naruto gave the girl a thumbs up. Sure. If you see me, just give me a shout. See ya, Darkness. Naruto said and took off towards the town to surprise a certain receptionist with his record timing once again. Darkness watched the friendly shinobi until he was out of sight. Naruto, huh? What a nice person. How disappointing. He didn't even ask for anything in return for saving me. The least he could have done was ask for money, to which I would say. But I don't have any money as there was any other way I could pay you back. To which he would look at my body with lecherous eyes and say. How about you pay me back with that slutty body of yours? But that man didn't so much as look at my breasts. Darkness yelled with a dangerous smile plastered all over her face, panting a few times between sentences. It was then she heard someone cough. Whirling around, she blushed furiously when she saw her silver-haired friend staring at her. "See Chris, how much did you hear? All of it? I always knew Darkness was an uncivilized person, but someone you just met. In the middle of the forest. You're mistaken, and don't say it like that." Darkness pleaded with teary eyes, and Chris stuck her tongue out playfully. "Just kidding. So, who was that guy?" "His name was Naruto, he's an adventurer, like us." "Naruto, huh?" Chris said with a knowing smile. Noticing the look on her friend's face, Darkness raised an eyebrow. "Do you know him?" Chris scratched the scar on her left cheek. "No, but I've heard a couple rumors floating around town that he's a bit of a player. They say he's always flirting with the head receptionist at the guild and that he's already seduced the owner of a certain magic item shop." "I see, but those rumors are surely false. Although I only just met him, that man doesn't seem like the type that shamelessly plays with a woman's heart." "Oh ho. Perhaps Darkness has already fallen prey to Naruto the player." Chris cooed and looked at Darkness with a playful smirk, making the female knight blush again. "Oh, of course not. How could I fall for someone who only looks me in the eyes? Isn't that a good thing though?" Chris thought while smiling bitterly as Darkness pouted to herself. "Anyways, we should start heading B." Boom. A sudden tremor violently shook the ground, threatening to knock the two off their feet. What was that?" "There was an explosion over there," Chris noted and pointed towards the town. A large cloud of smoke could be seen just outside of the town's walls. "Hey. Wasn't that the direction Naruto went?" Darkness asked when she realized the explosion was in the same direction the boy had run off to. The two girls looked at each other and gulped. "Was he okay?" "Darkness, huh? She kept looking at me like she was expecting me to do something, what a weird person." Naruto thought as he walked back towards the town with his hands crossed behind his head. His first impression of Darkness was that she was a clumsy knight that couldn't swing a sword for her life. Although she seemed like a nice person and was very pretty, but I'm still concerned about that smile, he thought as he heard a thumping noise and he saw a giant toad hopping across the field a couple meters in front of him. Naruto frowned. How could the people of this town want to kill such a harmless creature? He knew the giant toads in this world were completely different than the ones from his home and held little to no sentience, but couldn't they just move them without killing them? Seeing the toads here reminded Naruto just how much he missed Gamakichi and the other toads back at Mount Mamboku. I wonder how they're all doing right now. Ma and Pa, the chief toad, Gamaken, Gama. What's with those clouds? Up in the sky, an ominous whirl of dark clouds was beginning to form. Naruto then felt a great collection of energy that he could only assume was mana off in the distance. Looking for the owner of the mana, Naruto saw a young girl wearing red clothes and a black cape with a matching black witch's hat. She seemed to be aiming right at the toad. Naruto's eyes widened when he realized the mage's intentions, but he was too late. The girl opened her mouth and all hell broke loose. Explosion. Boom. The deafening sound roared and the toad was consumed in a volume of fire. The wind caused by the explosion swept Naruto off the ground and blew him back a few feet, but he dug his hands into the grassy terrain and somehow managed to keep himself from tumbling away. Naruto squinted his eyes as he watched the combustion incinerate the field in front of him. Finally, as the wind died down, Naruto was allowed to relax. There was now an enormous crater just 15 meters in front of him. The remains of the toad were nowhere to be seen. Naruto blinked. He blinked twice. Until finally, hey. Just where the hell do you think you're aiming that spell? Also, why would you use such a powerful technique on a toad? That was way past overkill. Naruto shouted angrily at the red-clothed mage and started running towards her to exact revenge, only to skid to a stop when the girl suddenly collapsed. Hey, are you okay?" he asked and crouched down and poked the back of the little girl who was now lying face down in the grass. "Yes, it was a long-fought battle, but I somehow managed to use the rest of my mana in that first and final gambit. I see you were almost caught in the explosion, my apologies, I get very excited when using that spell." The girl's muffled voice explained. "I see, no, I guess it's fine. But you should watch where you're firing that spell, you could kill someone with that much firepower." Naruto stuttered, but Ultimate scolded the girl for her reckless behavior. Hey, Sacrificer 2 would be nothing more than a tribute to Megumin, who was likely a god of destruction in a past life. Well, this sacrifice is about to leave you to be toad food if you don't stop talking nonsense, oh great god of destruction. Naruto responded with a twitching eyebrow, then grabbed Megumin's staff and proceeded to lightly bop the girl on the head. Megumin's head shuffled awkwardly in response, and Naruto assumed that was her nodding. At that moment, they heard footsteps approaching and a familiar voice shouted. "Megumin. We have 2 more toads left. Use your spell again on the farther one while Aqua is distracting the other one." "Oh, Naruto. What are you doing here, hey? What did you do to Megumin?" Azuma shouted and rushed over to them upon seeing the state of his party member. At first glance, it looked like Naruto had just mugged a little girl by beating her with her own equipment. Wait. I didn't do anything. This kid almost hit me with that explosion before collapsing on her own. Naruto shouted back while pointing at the mage with the staff. If Kazuma was here, then that would mean this kid was likely a new member of his and Aqua's party. Who are you calling a kid? If my mana wasn't depleted, I would. Megumin barked in a dark voice when Kazuma interrupted her. Wait, what do you mean your mana's depleted? You only used one spell. Don't tell me you're just as useless as Aqua. Speaking of Aqua, where was that girl? Ah, Kazuma said Aqua was distracting one of the toads. Which probably means. Naruto thought and walked off to find the girl that was likely being eaten by a toad. How rude to assume I'm useless. Though it is regrettable, I can only use that spell once by using all my mana, which leaves me too exhausted to move. But being paralyzed from the neck down after casting is a small price to pay for the ultimate power that is explosion magic. Megumin's muffled voice was defiant despite being face down in the grass. Kazuma's face paled. A mage that could only use her spell once a day. A spell that couldn't even be used inside a cave or a building, much less a town. Such impractical magic, this mage sounded absolutely useless. The thumping sound brought Kazuma out of his thoughts and he saw one of the toads coming towards them. Oh no, the other toad is almost here. Naruto, help us out while you're here, eh? Kazuma's words trailed off when he noticed the self-proclaimed ninja was nowhere to be found. Where did the only person that could fight go? Ah, since I cannot move, my body will inevitably be consumed by that toad. I leave it to you to save MFF. Megumin said before she was consumed, her legs sticking out of the toad's mouth. If they weren't in a dire situation, it would have been a comical sight. Kazuma gulped as he drew his short sword. Why did this world keep throwing all these obstacles at him? Wasn't he supposed to be the hero that would eventually slay the Demon King? Then why was he sent to a beginner town with no money, no weapon, and a GODDESS lol that was only useful for her party tricks? Adventurers Guild. Just as Naruto predicted, Aqua had been caught and almost swallowed by the giant toad. After smacking the toad and calming the crying girl, Kazuma had shown up with a slimy Megumin on his back. While they were on their way to the bathhouse, Megumin and Kazuma had an argument. Naruto didn't quite hear what they were talking about, only managing to catch something about how Megumin was willing to do anything to be in their party, and then Kazuma eventually agreeing to let her join. Now sitting inside the Adventurers Guild, Naruto and Kazuma ordered some drinks as they waited for the girls. So, looks like you got yourself a troublesome new party member. Naruto teased Kazuma, who decided to order a bubbly. How old was this guy anyway? Kazuma didn't look that much younger than him, maybe a year. But that wasn't any of Naruto's business, so he let it go. Troublesome is putting it lightly. That girl can only use one spell a day, and while that spell is incredibly strong, I don't see much use of it, Kazuma said with a sigh and grabbed a menu. Naruto laughed, finding himself in agreement with the guy's points. But that spell was impressive, I bet it could one-shot all of the monsters in this area. I wonder how that kid was able to produce such an explosion. Again, who are you calling a kid? Are you picking a fight with me? Megumin, who had just entered the guild hall with Aqua, said as the two sat down on the other side of the table. Aqua immediately called a waitress and ordered some food. Ah, put that on Naruto's tab please. Aqua added upon finishing her order, prompting Naruto to loudly stand up. Hey, wait a second. Why is it my treat when I saved you? Again. If anything, you should be treating me. Not to mention how bad you smelled from the slime. Naruto shouted angrily, and Aqua shrugged nonchalantly. Think of it as a small price to pay for having the privilege of holding a goddess in your arms. You should be thanking me since I decided not to tell the others where you accidentally touched. Double order for the lady. Naruto quickly shouted to the waitress when Aqua started saying unnecessary things, and the priestess squealed in delight. That girl, even though she had been crying and gripping onto his leg while thanking him. It's not his fault he touched her butt when he caught her. Feeling the gazes of the other two people at the table, Naruto coughed into his hand and turned to Kazuma. By the way, where did you go after we dropped the girls off at the bathhouse? You said you had something to do, but you came back rather quickly. The blonde asked with suspicious eyes, and Kazuma averted his gaze. Ah. You probably went back to kill that toad, didn't you? Then that means I unintentionally assisted in a murder. Hey, let go. What do you mean by murder? Killing toads is our quest, why didn't you just let me kill it earlier? Kazuma barked when the shinobi lunged at him. Why does it matter if a few giant toads are killed? They're eating the livestock of the farms and sometimes even people. Megumin stated with a raised eyebrow. But more importantly, toad meat is delicious. By the way, Kazuma went back and killed the toad you knocked out the first time you saved me as well. The Aqua chimed in while taking a bite out of the fried toad meat in her hands. No. Don't say that. Naruto shouted and covered his ears to keep himself from hearing anymore. He knew the toads in this world were treated as monsters, but he couldn't bring himself to slay one. Just being a part of the killing of one filled him with guilt. I've been wondering for a while now, but who is this man? Is he also a part of this party? Megumin asked while studying the blonde. He's not part of our party, but our invitation is still up on the board. Fair warning though, you might get covered in slime. Kazuma re-extended his offer to Naruto, and the blonde scratched at his whisker marks and thought. I guess it wouldn't hurt to form a party with you guys. After all, Luna-chan has been telling me to form a party for safety reasons since I first got here. Ah, but I'm not killing any toads. Naruto said with a chuckle of his own, and Kazuma sighed in relief. Thank goodness with Naruto in the party, now I won't have to worry about those people as much. Hey. Who are those people you are talking about? I'd really like to meet them. Megumin asked, her expression turning dark. So Kwa, no objections. Kazuma averted his gaze and turned to the archpriest. The Kwa gulped down the food she had been munching on and held her hand out. Not really, but let me see your adventurer's card, Naruto. I'm curious as to what your job and stats are. She said, and Naruto fished the card out of his pocket and handed it over before turning back to Kazuma. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how I feel about joining your party. I have a feeling I'm gonna keep getting swindled out of all my money. Not to mention that little girl with too much firepower. But I'm sure we'll get along just fine. What's this, are you picking a fight with me too? Don't think for a second that I'm afraid of fighting two boys at the same time, I'll take you both on. Megumin stated with a dark expression and cracked her knuckles. This kid sure has a lot of spunk, Naruto thought while laughing awkwardly. Kind of reminds me of a certain loudmouth brat that had a short fuse. Still dozes. Kurama's voice added, and Naruto was about to give the fox a piece of his mind when Aqua suddenly looked up from the card. Rejected. X2. Naruto and Kazuma both shouted in disbelief. The invitation clearly states one must have an advanced job if they wish to join. That's why I allowed Megumin to join, who is an arch-wizard. Aqua explained while gesturing to the mage. Just what is that girl thinking? Is she still mad about Naruto rejecting her invitation last time? Kazuma thought with a twitching eyebrow. What's with you? You were pretty much begging me to join your party this morning, what happened to that? Naruto yelled and slammed his hands on the table to emphasize his frustration, but Aqua merely looked the other way. I changed my mind. My party doesn't need two useless adventurers. Useless, I saved you from being eaten by giant toads. Twice. I can't believe you turned out to be this kind of person, and to think I thought you looked really cool in the graveyard back then, give me my admiration back. Naruto said and reached his hand out expectantly to Aqua, who smacked it away. Ah. Were you watching me at that time? Are you that obsessed with me? You said you were a ninja, but I didn't think you'd go as far as stalking me from the shadows. Who's a stalker? As the two bickered, Kazuma looked back and forth between both combatants with a look of disbelief. Things were finally starting to lighten up. How did this happen? Geez, get a room you two. Megumin muttered with a sigh, then flinched when both Naruto and Aqua directed their wrath towards her. Who would share a room with this stalker? For all I know, he'd probably steal my panties every night and giggle perversely while dancing around like an idiot. Aqua claimed while sending the ninja a scornful look. Like hell I would. What in the world gave you the idea that I would do something like that? Do you even wear panties? I can't even tell. Naruto shouted while shaking his head profusely. Aqua gasped and placed both hands over her rear. He admits it. This man has taken the path of a pervert. He truly is a devil. Don't worry, I'll purify it now. Who are you calling in it? And I told you before, I'm not a devil. Stop trying to purify me. Naruto demanded and threw his empty tankard at Aqua, who sidestepped the projectile with a snicker. How's that? I can sense a great deal of malice coming from you again, devil. Now do you understand the power of a goddess? The malice that Aqua was referring to was coming from none other than Kurama, who had just taken the full brunt of Aqua's consistent purification spells. Kill this brain-dead woman. Or better yet, give me the reins so that I may do it myself. Calm down, Kurama, I think people are starting to feel your presence. Naruto thought in an attempt to calm the enraged tailed beast, but it was too late. He could already hear the whispers floating around the guild. Hey, did she just say devil? I always thought Naruto was just a delinquent that was working hard to impress Luna-san, but is he actually a devil? No way. Naruto lowered his head, his bangs covered his eyes as the rumors began to spread. Hey Aqua, aren't you taking this a little too far? Kazuma started but was cut off when Megumin pointed her staff at Naruto, her eyes glowing. I do sense demonic energy coming from this man, why is that? Explain yourself, or I may just cast explosion magic to destroy you right here and now. Megumin claimed, and some of the guild members who were familiar with the mage began to panic. The Crimson Demon smirked triumphantly, clearly enjoying the chaos she had stirred. Didn't you say you could only cast explosion once a day? You used it earlier. Kazuma retorted, which caused the panic to immediately die down. Megumin began to sweat profoundly while maintaining her fierce expression. Naruto sighed. He was hoping to keep Kurama a secret a little longer, but he now realized it was pointless. Might as well get this over with. But the entire hall's attention on him, Naruto hopped onto a table and took a deep breath. With a confident grin, he made his announcement. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I come from a faraway village of ninja. When I was a baby, the leader of my village sealed a nine-tailed fox demon inside me. But there's no need to worry, because Kurama's my friend. Naruto shouted, causing many eyes to widen in surprise. Nonetheless, he continued. I don't care if any of you believe me right now, because I'm gonna prove myself to this world. I'm going to be the one to defeat the Demon King. This caused an uproar of chatter throughout the guild. Some incredulous, others straight up laughing at the outrageous claim. But the suspicion seemed to have died down a little at the very least. Azuma stared at the blonde with wide eyes. Right now, Naruto was acting like a protagonist straight out of an anime manga. As much as he hated to admit it, this sparked a fire in the pit of Kazuma's stomach. He couldn't be outdone by a fellow player. Grinning widely from his handiwork, Naruto hopped down from the table and started walking towards the exit. He had some raiment to make. But someone grabbed the sleeve of his jacket and Naruto looked down to see Megumin staring up at him with sparkling eyes. That declaration was inspiring. I too hope to defeat the Demon King one day and carve my name in history. That is why I traveled to this town to form a party with people who shared the same goal. The young girl proclaimed. This kid may be a short-fused firecracker, but at least she has some decent goals. Naruto thought with a smile. Kazuma sighed in relief. It looked like Naruto was going to form a party with Megumin. Kazuma was hoping Naruto would join his party, but at least he only had to worry about one problem child, a guy. Then that makes us rivals. Don't expect me to go easy on you just because you're a kid. As the genius prodigy of the Crimson Demon clan, I wouldn't have it any other way. Eh? Kazuma gawked at Naruto and Megumin. Aqua. Let's have a race to see who can beat the Demon King first. Naruto then said pointed at the archpriest. Ha. As if a mere stalker would pose a threat to the great me. But, being the kind goddess that I am, I'll humor you. You're on. Aqua responded with her chest puffed out and let out a haughty laugh. Naruto chuckled, then turned to leave the guild to find a chef willing to teach him the cooking skill. As the hall shifted back to its former state, Kazuma finally snapped out of his stupor and started panicking. At this rate, he was going to be stuck with these two problem children all by himself. Aqua, apologize quickly. Naruto's going to leave. Don't wanna. Naruto made his choice, not that I would have accepted him in the party anyway. Aqua said while looking away with a HMPH. Then went back to conversing with Megumin. This girl. Kazuma thought while grinding his teeth together. Now he was going to be left behind with these two nut jobs. Not long after Naruto left, a tall, blonde-haired woman clad in armor walked up to their table. Is this the party that was said to have walked through town with girls covered in slime? Why yes. Kazuma stuttered due to the sudden appearance of the beautiful knight. Did people really talk about their party? He hoped there weren't any bad rumors about him. The pretty woman then let out a ragged breath and gained a dangerous look in her eyes, a look that Kazuma did not like. My name is Darkness and I wield the job of Crusader. Please let me join your party and use me as a meat shield against whatever caused that slime. Hearing this, Aqua and Megumin joined the conversation. Oh. We needed a vanguard in our party. Isn't this great, Kazuma? Welcome to the party, Darkness. Naruto, wait for me. Don't leave me behind with these people. Ah. X3. Why can't I make it right? Naruto mumbled to himself. He was sitting while resting his head on the edge of the table inside of Wiz's magic item shop. He roughly remembered how to make the noodles and even knew most of the ingredients by heart. Heck, miso soup was reasonably common in this world. Yet, Naruto just couldn't quite get it. So far, Naruto was able to make a decent soup and his noodles were getting there in firmness. But whenever he tried to put it all together with vegetables and meat, the flavors were always wrong. Also, the vegetables in this world were sentient for whatever reason and a real nuisance. Naruto had been socked in the face by an onion when he first went grocery shopping. You'll get it next time for sure. I just know it. Wiz sportingly said before getting back to tearing through her third bowl of Naruto's failure ramen with great haste. But I don't think this is bad at all, Naruto-san is quite talented. More please. Thanks, Wiz, here you go. Naruto absent-mindedly said and pushed the fourth and final bowl over to her without looking. He ended up making quite a bit of ramen that morning and they were at least edible by his standards, so he decided to bring the extras to the store for Wiz who had returned from her business trip. So, they closed the store for a lunch break. You sure were hungry, it's like you haven't eaten solid food since you left. Naruto jokingly said and Wiz flinched. Why yes, it was quite a long carriage ride and I forgot to bring snacks. How careless of me. The lick responded in a monotone voice. Naruto looked up and narrowed his eyes on the gluttonous girl who suspiciously slowed down. I thought you said you couldn't get to that village on a carriage. Don't tell me have you not eaten anything since you left. Wiz gulped her food down hard before sighing. Naruto-san saw right through me, because the business isn't doing too well, I've been cutting back on things to save money. I've been skipping out on 1 or 10 meals a week. So Wiz's financial situation was worse than he thought. He'd have to think of some ideas fast or Naruto blinked. Wait, did you say 10 Wiz? You can't seriously have been starving yourself, have you? Wiz frantically waved her hands dismissively. It's not a big deal. Honestly. Because I'm a lick, I won't die even if I starve. Though, I would eventually lose all my flesh. That last part unnerved Naruto as he imagined the woman in front of him turning into a skeleton, but he quickly dismissed the thought and returned to the matter at hand. But you still feel hunger, right? The feeling of being hungry all the time. I can't let the kind and honest to a fault Wiz feel like that. Besides, if Wiz's body withers away and turns into a skeleton, how else are we going to attract customers to the store? I appreciate your concern, but are you complimenting or insulting me? Wiz asked with a crooked. Naruto laughed at the girl's expression, then stood up and gathered the empty bowls on the table. It was then an idea came to him. Hey, I know. I'll just bring you ramen for lunch or dinner like I did today. Wiz stood up after the blonde made such a generous offer. Hey? I can't possibly trouble Naruto-san to do that. Your help at the store is already too much since I can't pay you. It wouldn't be any trouble at all. I've been making too much ramen during my experiments anyway, so I'll just save you some bowls. You get fed, I get to make more ramen, it's a win-win for both of us. Naruto claimed with a wave of his hand. He then walked over to the counter and stashed the bowls on one of the shelves. He'd take them back to the inn after they closed shop for the day. Honestly, if you keep doing nice things for me like this, I might just misunderstand something. Wiz mumbled and lowered her head while twiddling her thumbs, a small smile on her lips. Naruto tilted his head to the side. Misunderstand what? I told you I'm doing this because you're my friend and I want to help you. Alright, of course. Wiz smiled wryly. The shopkeeper then sat down at the table as Naruto picked up the broom and started sweeping the entrance. Naruto-san. If I may ask why are you helping me so much? I haven't done a single thing for you, I even caused you some trouble when we first met, and please don't say it was because you consider me a friend. The lick asked, prompting the shinobi to stop sweeping and smile sadly in remembrance. I guess seeing how hard you work for this store really struck home for me. You could have just given up the store when business didn't do so well, but you put your heart and soul into coming up with new plans and ideas. In the end, your debt seems to increase the harder you work, and you're too kind to ask others for help. Naruto explained before he looked Wiz in the eyes. That's why I want to help you with this store. I don't want to see all your hard work go down the drain just because of some stupid red digits. Although those red digits likely came from a little more than bad luck, but Naruto kept that to himself. Wiz averted her gaze by lowering her head again. I see, thank you, Naruto-san. I'll be sure to repay you someday. You want to repay me? Learn how to make ramen that tastes like Ichiraku ramen. Naruto said mostly as a joke, but recoiled in surprise when Wiz was suddenly in his face with stars in her eyes. I don't know what an Ichiraku is, but I'll try my best. Wiz declared confidently. Naruto laughed nervously and gently pushed the girl out of his personal bubble. That sounds great, I'll teach you all I know some other time. But right now, we have more pressing matters to attend to, right? Oh. Yes, of course. I'll go get some of the merchandise I brought back from my trip. Wiz exclaimed before running to the back room. She then returned with a box and placed a few items on the table. Naruto walked over to the table and picked up a scroll. What's this? That's a magical scroll that lights up when you read the contents inside. It doesn't require any mana to use it and it only costs 10,000 Eris. Wiz explained with an excited tone. Though this one might actually sell well. There are a few dungeons close to town and people could use this when they go inside. Wait a second, how would they be able to read the scroll if it's too dark inside the dungeon? Naruto asked when he realized a flaw in the magical scroll and Wiz hummed in thought. There is a skill that allows one to see in the dark, it's useless. Naruto interrupted Wiz and was about to tear the defective magic item in half when the girl grabbed onto his arms with teary eyes. Wait. They could just activate the scroll before they go inside the dungeon. Although the scroll only lights up for a couple minutes, so by the time they activate it and go inside no. It's gonna tear. It's gonna tear. Later that day, Azuma walked through the streets of Axel with eyes void of light. Why, you ask? You did great distracting those toads, Darkness. Thanks to you, I was able to blast 3 of them at the same time. We completed our quest 2 times over and I even gained a level. Megumin exclaimed, who was being carried by Darkness because Kazuma didn't want to be covered in mucus. The way each toad spit me out in disgust and the feeling of being covered in the mucus of 3 different toads is too much. Darkness said with a shudder, but the redness in her cheeks and ragged breaths gave away her true feelings. Although they were only noticed by Kazuma. I was spot on, this girl is a complete masochist. Azuma thought as he watched Megumin and Darkness converse. After they completed their quest, the two hit it off and were getting along quite well. This was trouble for the boy because they also got along with Aqua, which meant they wouldn't be going anywhere from now on. He was stuck with these three girls. Usually, a guy would kill to be in a party with three good-looking women. But not these three. Darkness had tossed her sword to the side and jumped in front of all three of those toads that confronted them, claiming she would distract them until Megumin's spell was finished. Then, while Kazuma had somehow managed to retrieve Darkness from the monsters, Megumin unleashed her spell. The explosion drew the attention of more toads, one of which hopped over and ate Megumin since she couldn't move, and Kazuma had to rush over and help her, since Darkness was apparently in too much bliss to move. During that time, Aqua had somehow managed to get herself eaten by a fifth toad and had been crying the whole way home. But I was surprised by Megumin's power as well. Who knew this town had an arch-wizard that wielded such powerful magic? Darkness praised the little girl, and Megumin was now brimming with pride. We should retake this quest. Next time, I'll incinerate 5 toads with one spell. No. I don't want to be eaten by toads anymore. I'm tired of getting covered in slime. Aqua wailed and turned to Kazuma for help. It seemed she was traumatized from her constant near-consumption experiences. Tell them, Kazuma. Tell them why we can't do that quest anymore. Aqua pleaded with tears and mucus running down her face, and the boy had to take a step back from her. She's making me come up with an excuse for her. How annoying, Kazuma thought just as he plugged his nose in disgust. The group stopped in front of the local bathhouse. We'll meet up at the Adventurers Guild after you guys wash up. I'll turn in the quest and we can split the reward when you're all back. That being said, Kazuma began to slowly make his way towards the Adventurers Guild. How you're not going to tell them why? How useless. I guess it's to be expected by the only one in the party who's not covered in slime. The NEET with the weakest job couldn't do anything other than run away until the last second to steal the kill. Aqua claimed and laughed to herself. Kazuma spun on his heel and blew his top off. Are you kidding me? Who ran away? You were completely useless this time around. You ran away the moment the toads showed up and you couldn't even do that right because you got yourself eaten anyway. Oh well, maybe you should have protected your healer better. And you call yourself a gamer? Protecting the healer is the most important rule of a game. Puhehe. Aqua sneered and giggled into her sleeve. Why you? Kazuma was about ready to pounce on Aqua but stopped himself when he remembered the girl was covered in toad slime. Aqua must have realized this and began to laugh at the boy tauntingly. At this point in time, Darkness and Megumin walked into the bathhouse while continuing their conversation as their other two party members argued. Maybe I should have just let Naruto into my party. He may have the adventurer job too, but at least he can fight, unlike a certain useless hickey NEET. Aqua said and started laughing again to add extra salt to the wound. Kazuma growled. That was the last straw, this girl needed to be taught a lesson. The hell with the toad slime. Come here, you bitch. The angry boy yelled and pounced on the Bluenet. Wah. Kazuma's finally snapped. Help. Wait Kazuma. I'm sorry. Please let go of my Hagoromo, Kazuma-san. Aqua begged when Kazuma began to pry the floaty pink cloth from her person. I remember you bragging about how this thing is worth a mountain of Eris. I'm gonna sell it so that I don't have to go through another life-threatening situation again. Wahaha. Stop it. This is the only thing I have left to prove I'm a goddess. Please don't sell it, Kazuma-sama. Just as Kazuma was about to strip the Hagoromo from Aqua's grasp, someone walked up to them. Hey. The two stopped and looked up to see Naruto staring at them with a concerned look on his face. What are you two doing and why is Aqua covered in slime? Did you get eaten again? Yeah, she did, and this girl had the nerve to call me useless. She escaped. Kazuma said when Aqua took advantage of the distraction to break out of his grasp. Kazuma tried to grab her again, but he slipped on the toad mucus and fell on the ground with a thud. Aqua scrambled to Naruto and grabbed onto his leg for dear life, causing the boy to flinch as soon as the mucus stench hit him. Naruto. This man has finally lost control. He was no longer satisfied with sniffing my hair at night in the stables and attacked me. He even claimed he would sell my most valuable possession. Hey, let go. You're covered in slim weight. He did what now? Naruto said and sent Kazuma a flat look. How I'd get excited over sniffing this girl's hair. Ha. I don't even see her as a woman. If you've seen her sleeping habits, you would agree with me. Kazuma barked while sneering at the sniffling archpriest. He didn't deny it. I didn't think Kazuma was that kind of guy. I guess you really can't judge a book by its cover. Hey, why are you looking at me with such pitiful eyes? You know this woman's personality. She'll take advantage of your kindness whenever she gets a chance and keep doing it until you have nothing left. Kazuma said in a desperate attempt to keep Naruto from siding with the enemy. Aqua huffed in annoyance. How rude. I haven't used you at all since we got here. Naruto's treated me way better than you have and he isn't even the one who forced me to come to this world. I should just leave you and form a party with Naruto. Maybe then I'll have a chance at getting home. Huh? No way. Why would I want to form a party with you after you said all those things? That happened yesterday, you know. Naruto said with a straight face and Aqua face planted on the pavement. Why? Why can't you just form a party with me? Yesterday you were going to join. Then you said all that dumb stuff about advanced job classes only, blah blah blah, so I changed my mind. Naruto retorted and wiped the slime off his tattered pants. Luna had been an angel, offering to stitch his poor jacket. But he really needed to get some new clothes. Aqua gripped her skirt tightly and began to sniffle. Why sniff? Ever since I was brought to this world, everything and everyone has been against me. Wawahaha. Shoot, maybe I went a little too far now she's crying. Naruto thought when the girl at his feet began to cry. With the addition of being covered in slime, Aqua's state was just too pitiful. On the other hand, Kazuma snickered as he watched Aqua bawl her eyes out. Divine retribution was sweet. But then, hey, look over there, that girl is crying. She's covered in slime. What did those boys do to her? They both have such mean looks in their eyes, scary. Naruto and Kazuma looked at each other with wide eyes when they heard the people nearby chattering amongst themselves. And no, you got it all wrong. I was just hey Kazuma. This is your fault, so do something about it. Me, how is this my fault? You're the one who made her cry. Kazuma shot back when the blame was pinned on him. Wah. It's always like this. During the day, I'm followed by this stalker who has an obsession with me. At night, I can't sleep because I'm worried about the other man doing weird things to me while I'm asleep. What should I do? X2. Naruto and Kazuma began to sweat bullets when the stares from the people watching turned into scornful ones. They looked at Aqua and saw the girl secretly held a smug look under her hands as she continued her act. Why you little don't think for a second I'm afraid of retaliating from this. Your act won't fool me. Kazuma barked with a raised fist and Aqua's wailing intensified along with the murmuring audience. Wah. Yell at a crying girl, how cruel. What scum, trash. Stop it Kazuma, you're not helping. Hey, stop crying Aqua. I'll treat you to some Naruto juice when we go to the guild. I'm just about to turn in a quest so you can order as much as you want. How does that sound? Naruto offered in an attempt to make peace with the girl. Being called a delinquent was annoying enough as it was, he didn't want to be downgraded to being called a perverted delinquent. Wah sniff. Can I order wine? This girl. Naruto thought with a twitching eyebrow, but strained a smile and nodded. Why yes. Of course. Now, go wash up and we can go to the Adventurers Guild. Honestly, it was like talking to a child throwing a temper tantrum. Aqua nodded and picked herself off the ground. I guess I'll let you off the hook this time Naruto, but you better talk some sense into that man standing next to you. You seriously think I'll MMF? Kazuma was about to put the girl who was spouting such ridiculous nonsense in her place when Naruto covered his mouth. I will. Enjoy your bath. Naruto said, and Aqua happily skipped into the bathhouse to wash the slime off. Kazuma smacked the blonde's hand from his mouth and growled. What are you doing? You're just falling for that girl's trap again. Listen, Naruto. I've been around that devil in a goddess's skin a lot longer than you have, so I know what I'm talking about when I say Aqua's taking advantage of you. You have to put her in her place before she takes it too far. Oh, I know. Which is why I'm going to teach that girl a lesson. Naruto responded with a devilish smile. Kazuma grew nervous when he saw this new side of Naruto. His impression of the blonde was that of an all-around nice guy who had a loud mouth, but this smile spelled trouble. What kind of lesson? That, my friend, is a secret. Fufufu. Naruto began to rub his hands together, a few chuckles escaping his lips. Now the delinquent looks like he's plotting something. I feel bad for that poor girl. Naruto gained a tick mark on his forehead. Who's calling me a delinquent? I haven't vandalized a single thing in this town. Wah. We made him angry. Run away. Kazuma looked at the grumbling Naruto with a mixed expression. Just what did he have planned for Aqua? Naruto claimed to be a ninja, and ninjas were assassins. Should he be worried? Waitress. More wine please, and put it on Naruto's tab like usual. The noisy Aqua ordered while slamming the table obnoxiously. This would be her third bottle of expensive wine, bringing the earnings Naruto had acquired from his last quest down to zero. Why yes, ma'am. The waitress said with a strained smile and rushed off to fetch another bottle of wine, but not before sending Naruto a look of concern, and it was apparent why. Due to the amount of help Naruto had been giving Luna with durian quests, he had become quite familiar with the rest of the guild staff. Naruto just waved the girl off, as this was part of his master plan. First, he would let Aqua go wild with the wine and let her guard down. Then, hey, are you really okay with this? She's going a little overboard and that wine's expensive. Kazuma asked worriedly, pulling Naruto out of his thoughts. That's okay. I promised I'd treat Aqua to whatever she wanted and I'm a man who doesn't go back on his word. Besides, I have a feeling Aqua's gonna get what's coming to her real soon. Naruto responded while adding the last bit quietly so only Kazuma could hear, but Megumin noticed his expression and looked at Naruto suspiciously. I figured you were treating Aqua because you liked her or something, but you have a look that says you're planning something. The mage said, her eyes narrowing on the boy and ready to defend her party member. It's rude to make such assumptions, Megumin. Besides, Naruto doesn't seem like the type to take advantage of a woman when she's drunk and bring them home. Darkness claimed with a hint of disappointment in her tone. Naruto tilted his head. Who are you? It's me, Darkness. We met yesterday. You saved me from a silver wolf, remember? Darkness slammed her hands on the table in frustration, her cheeks burning red. Naruto laughed at his fellow blonde's outburst. Sorry, I was joking. I remember you because of your weird name. Weird. That's how you remembered me? Darkness asked, stumped on whether she should be offended or pleased. Darkness is a rather strange name. Now that you mention it, this may be a fantasy world, but the name Darkness doesn't suit you. Especially with that bright blonde hair and blue eyes. Megumin and Kazuma added, and Darkness was now blushing hard at being the center of attention. Megumin and Kazuma too. What about their names? Their names are strange, and Aqua's named after the goddess worshipped by the Axis Order. Darkness said in an attempt to get the heat off her. Oh? Is there something strange about my name? Tell me, I really wanna know. Megumin demanded, her eyes regaining their ominous glow. Putting the offended Crimson Magic clansman aside, Naruto shrugged. I guess I don't have a right to say anything since I'm named after a fish cake. X3. What? You wanna make fun of my name now that you know that? Don't bother, I'm used to it from my childhood. Naruto barked when the three of them began to stare at him questioningly. Hey, where did Aqua go? Kazuma asked when he noticed the blue net was missing. They found Aqua standing on top of one of the tables performing party tricks with fans and water. She was encircled by a cheerful crowd. That idiot, I still can't believe she spent all her skill points on party tricks. Kazuma said and shook his head tiredly, prompting Naruto to look at the teen in surprise. Seriously? Yeah, had she spent her skill points more wisely, she could have been the most powerful adventurer with her stats. Naruto looked over at Aqua, who seemed to be having the time of her life. Usually one would think it would be okay to do what one wanted, so long as you were enjoying life. But wasn't her goal to defeat the Demon King? Was Aqua thinking she could beat the Demon King by dazzling him to death with grand tricks and performances? No, she probably wasn't thinking at all. Oh, I almost forgot. I leveled up twice yesterday, so I was thinking about learning some new skills today. Kazuma said while looking at his adventurer's card. On the card, it showed that he had a few skill points next to his level. The adventurer job class could learn any skill from the other job classes, so the possibilities were virtually endless. Hey Megumin, how many skill points would it take to learn that spell you used yesterday? Too close. Kazuma was in the middle of asking when Megumin was suddenly all up in his face. Kazuma. Do you wish to walk down the path of explosion magic together? It would be a long and difficult path for someone with the adventurer class, but I would happily walk by your side the entire way. Megumin said with more enthusiasm than one would expect to see when talking about a spell. Explosion magic is the most powerful magic known to man, it can harm literally anything. Ghosts, gods, devils, I have no shred of doubt in my mind that it can destroy even the Demon King himself. You really like explosion magic? Naruto noted with a nostalgic smile. Little by little, this kid was beginning to remind him of himself. The way she talked about explosion magic was the same as the way he used to boast about becoming the Hokage. Of course. If I had to choose between eating 3 solid meals a day and dessert after the third meal, and eating 1 passable meal a day and using explosion magic, I would choose the passable meal and explosion magic with dessert without hesitation. Hey, your answer doesn't add up correctly. Kazuma pointed out and Megumin froze in her stance. But for a second. But that being said, hey, don't just continue. Will you walk down the path of explosion with me and train to get those 50 skill points? Megumin asked while talking over the retort. After a moment, Kazuma turned towards his fellow adventurer. Hey Naruto, have you learned any skills yet? You're an adventurer like me, but you've probably leveled up a lot, so you've probably learned a few skills by now. Me? The only skill I've learned so far is the cooking skill. I wanted to learn how to make my favorite food. Naruto stated, earning a curious look from Kazuma. Favorite food? What kind of food is ak? Kazuma winced when Megumin suddenly grabbed onto his shoulder. Hard. Hey. Didn't you ask me about explosion magic? Don't tell me you're getting cold feet. I don't think it would be worth my time earning all those skill points for a spell that I'd only be able to use once a day. Ouch. Ouch. Let go of me. How is your grip so strong? Kazuma painfully said when Megumin tightened her grip on his shoulder. How was such a tiny hand able to produce so much force? Megumin eventually relented and let go before turning to the other boy. Naruto. Since this man is too weak-willed to walk down the hard path of learning the spell with absolute power, would you choose to learn explosion magic? No thanks, I don't really have a need for explosion magic. Naruto said while waving his hand dismissively, and Megumin fell to her knees dejectedly. And no need, he says. Rubbing his now bruising shoulder, Kazuma turned to the last person in the group he could ask for skills. He wasn't really surprised that Naruto had only learned one skill so far. After all, that guy had a cheat from the gods. Learning skills to make life easier seemed like the natural thing to do when you already had overwhelming power. Hey Darkness, what kind of skills does a crusader learn? I'm assuming defensive skills and sword techniques. Kazuma asked, turning to the front line of his party. Darkness grew flustered when asked about her job class. Well yes, you are correct. Although, I spent all of my skill points on defensive skills. So there is nothing I could teach you, Kazuma sighed. And to think my opinion of you would have risen a little bit if you had been able to teach me even a single skill. NGH. Darkness held her heart as if she had just been stabbed and fell forward, grabbing the edge of the table for support. Oh well, I was a little surprised about Naruto, but I was expecting this outcome from my party members. Looks like I'll have to learn a skill from someone else. X2. That was the final strike, and both Darkness and Megumin grew depressed expressions complete with a thundercloud raining over their heads. The path of explosion is a lonely one. To mercilessly shoot down your own party members is too much, although this treatment isn't bad. A bead of sweat rolled down Naruto's face. He couldn't tell whether Kazuma was doing it on purpose or if he was just brutally honest. Everybody. Drinks on Naruto. Oh. The Kwa shouted from her spot at the center of the guild, and her audience roared in celebration. Okay, I think she's gone far enough. Now should be a good time. Naruto thought and got up from his seat to spring things into motion. Kazuma took this as a sign from what they had been talking about earlier and watched as the shinobi approached the goddess of parties. Sorry to rain on everyone's parade, but I can't afford to treat everyone. Naruto hollered so everyone could hear, and the adventurers began to jeer. Come on man, don't be stingy. Yeah, we know you got the cash. What with all those quests you've been completing by yourself to impress Luna-san? Were the crowd's responses. No way. Why would I treat you guys anyway? All you ever do is laze around the guild and cause Luna-chan trouble. I'll treat you guys if I can go a week without having to do a single durian quest. Naruto fired back, and the other adventurers began to rise from their seats. And are you picking a fight with us now? An adventurer challenged and a particularly burly man stepped forward and grabbed Naruto by the collar. You may have surprised us last time when you put Dust in the hospital with a single punch, but don't think we'll let you off scot-free for calling us lazy. The towering man snarled down at the ninja, but Naruto's expression remained neutral. We should stop this. We should fight with him. Darkness and Megumin said at the same time, then they both looked at each other. Megumin averted her gaze, prompting the Night Whisper to her in a hiss. You want to fight against all those people? They're the ones picking a fight with Naruto. Besides, he may not be in our party, but he's Kazuma's friend. Right Kazuma? Megumin hissed back and turned to Kazuma, only to find the teen trying to sneak into the crowd to blend in. You were just trying to run away, weren't you? This time, it was Kazuma who averted his gaze. Hey, he was sort of friends with Naruto, were they even friends? Kazuma was still unsure. But one thing he was sure of was that he'd get pulverized if he got involved. Naruto had a cheat, so he could take care of himself. Darkness shook her head and began to push her way to the middle of the crowd where Naruto was, but it was difficult due to how they were all now circled around the shinobi. The Kwa, who just seemed to grasp the situation, clumsily hopped down from her table and stumbled over to Naruto. Oh Naruto, you're such a jockester. You were just kidding, right? You're gonna treat all these hard-working adventurers to a drink, right? The priestess asked almost pleadingly, but Naruto held his chin high and smirked. Nope. I'm dead serious. Just as the burly adventurer growled and reared back to punch Naruto in the face, a blinding light shined outside through the windows of the guild. What is that light? It's coming from outside. As the light faded, the adventurers forgot about their anger towards Naruto and ran outside to investigate. The only ones left in the guild were Naruto, Aqua, Kazuma, Megumin, and Darkness. Naruto, are you okay? Kazuma asked Naruto as the teen brushed his jacket off. Oh, so now you're concerned about your friend. Megumin mused, causing Kazuma to flinch. Hey anyways, let's go see what that light was. Kazuma stuttered and spun on his heel to go outside. He was shortly followed by Megumin and Darkness. Naruto turned to Aqua, who was still a little tispy from her drinks. Wanna go check it out? At this point in time, they could hear shouts coming from outside. Aqua rubbed her eyes and blinked a couple times before nodding, and the two walked through the doors. When Aqua stepped foot outside of the guild, she saw a crowd in the middle of the streets. In the middle of the crowd was, Aqua blinked. Was her vision that impaired from the alcohol? Standing at the center of the crowd was a woman with light blue hair and blue eyes. She looked just like Aqua, only this girl was wearing a frilly dress that went down to her ankles. With a color reminiscent of the deep sea, the gown shimmered with every movement like an ocean current. It looked unnatural, clearly a craft that was not capable of human hands. "Hey, that girl looks just like you, Aqua," Naruto said while squinting his eyes to get a better look at the girl that was the center of attention. That's not possible. Goddess Aqua has descended. I thought the goddess of the Axis cult was a crazy lady, but I was wrong. Forgive my ignorance. Aqua-sama. Aqua began to say something, but her voice drowned in the crowd's cheering. The goddess raised a delicate hand and the crowd obediently quieted down. "Hello everybody, I bid you a wonderful afternoon. I am Aqua, the goddess of water," Aqua said, and the townsfolk roared with cheers from the confirmation. Kazuma, who was staring at the woman that looked just like Aqua with wide eyes, turned to the girl he had initially come to this world with. Aqua's standing right there in the middle of the crowd, but that shouldn't be possible. I know for a fact that Aqua is the real goddess of water, even if she doesn't act like it, she's standing right there by Naruto. Is this his doing? When the cheers died down, the goddess continued. My appearance may be rather sudden, but I heard that this town held an archpriest that is so devoted to the Axis cult that they adopted my name, changed their appearance to look like me. I wanted to meet this archpriest in person to express how happy I am to have such a devoted follower. The divine woman said in a voice so sincere, some of the townsfolk became teary-eyed. So that's why Aqua is named after the goddess. I knew she was from the Axis cult, but this. Darkness and Megumin whispered to each other, and Aqua began to tremble. Ooh. Amid the tear-jerking moment, Aqua screamed at the top of her lungs. Aqua took notice of the girl and clasped her hands together in delight. Ah. You must be the devoted archpriest. As the goddess of the Axis cult, it brings me so much joy to see so much devotion. No. 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 Aqua interrupted her doppelganger while stomping her foot in frustration. Is there something wrong? Aqua asked with an awkward smile as she walked towards the shouting girl, her dress rippling like a liquid with each step. It was captivating to watch. The crowd split apart as she walked, allowing the goddess to walk straight to Aqua. Of course there's something wrong. I'm the goddess of water. I'm Aqua. Who are you, you impostor? Aqua. I realize you have a devotion to the Axis cult so strong that you have idolized Aqua-sama to a point beyond religion, but you can't seriously believe you're the actual goddess herself. Do you? Darkness said while restraining Aqua, who tried to pounce on her target. I'm not pretending to be the goddess, I am the goddess. Aqua shouted as she desperately tried to strangle the impostor, but Darkness's hold was firm. She couldn't believe this was happening. Who was this person pretending to be her, and why was everyone believing her lies? Some of the adventurers jumped in front of the goddess protectively. I'm sorry, Aqua-sama. This girl is quite unpredictable when riled up. She's known for her fancy party tricks, not her adventuring skills, so she's mostly harmless. Is that how you people see me? Aqua yelled with teary eyes before going limp in Darkness's arms. Fighting it was pointless. No one believed her, and she couldn't think of a way to. I know. If you're really the goddess Aqua, then answer this. Does Eris pat her breasts? After Aqua asked such an outrageous question out of nowhere, a majority of the crowd who were Eris cultists looked at the girl with scornful eyes. The goddess held her warm and gentle smile. Now why would I assume such a thing? Eris is my cute kohai who is loved by most. You shouldn't say things like that in public, you know. Aha. I knew it. You really are a faker. Aqua claimed with a triumphant look on her face, but fell to confusion when no one came to her side. I hear Axis cultists say that about Eris-sama all the time. They should learn to act more like their goddess. Such kindness. Aqua's face dropped when the crowd cheered for her doppelganger again. No. Can't you see this woman is deceiving you? Darkness, let go of me already. Stop it, Aqua. You're taking this too far. Just give it up already. Oh. Don't pull on my hair. While Aqua and Darkness were struggling against one another, Kazuma turned Megumin, who had been strangely quiet. What do you think about all of this? He asked, and Megumin continued to stare at the goddess who was happily conversing with the townsfolk before she spoke. I don't think that's the real goddess of water. I don't sense anything holy about her. Kazuma nodded, figuring she was sensing the mana in air. Since he didn't have any magical talent, he couldn't sense things as well as Megumin, who was an arch-wizard. Actually, I think this is Naruto's doing. Aqua's been swindling him, so he said he was going to teach her a lesson. Though I don't know how he's doing it. Megumin nodded, and they turned to the shinobi in question. I'm sorry about my friend here, she doesn't know when to stop and tends to take things a little too far. Naruto apologized with a cheeky grin and looked the girl in question while saying the last bit and winking. The goddess giggled and waved her hand dismissively. That's okay, I'm just happy to see my children have so much energy, Mizuru. Oops. Looks like my verbal tick slipped. Aqua said and winked at the crowd, causing everyone to go completely silent. What the hell is Mizuru supposed to mean? Are you even trying to imitate me anymore? This is ridiculous, I don't say anything like that. Aqua ranted in rage, her ears burning bright red with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. Oh. I don't know why, but that sounds really cute. Aqua-sama is the best. Why? Feeling defeated all over again, Aqua hung loosely in darkness's hold once more. Well then, I have completed my business here. I thank you all for your time, and please, treat this child with care, she is one of my precious devotees. I bless you all with crystal clear water. Aqua said before she leapt from the ground up and onto the roof of the Adventurers Guild, surprising everyone with a physical feat. Then, after one final wave from the goddess of water, everyone had to cover their eyes when her form was enveloped in the same dazzling bright light from before. Aqua, who wasn't affected by the light due to her goddess vision, saw dozens of hands holding what looked to be pieces of paper over the roof before they disappeared, along with her doppelganger, in clouds of smoke as the light faded away. 3 cheers for the goddess Aqua-sama. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. I was hesitant before, but maybe I'll join the Axis cult. The townsfolk were great discussion over what had just transpired, which could have been considered a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Aqua? Are you okay? Darkness asked a limp girl in her arms, but Aqua only murmured to herself. It's no use, no one will believe me even if I tell them what I saw. Now I'm going to be remembered as the goddess who says weird things like Mizuru. It's okay Aqua, we accept you for who you are. Even if you're just trying to imitate the goddess Aqua-sama. Right everyone? Naruto chimed to Aqua while patting her on the back and the townsfolk cheered in agreement. Azuma's mouth dropped, he finally understood what Naruto's true goal was. He still didn't know how Naruto pulled off the Aqua doppelganger, but what he did was make solid proof that Aqua, who had tried and failed to get people to realize her identity, was now in a position where she could never get the people to know the truth. From this day onward, the people of Axel, and eventually the entire kingdom, would only see her as a devout worshipper. It was ironic in a way. Aqua's image as a goddess had been significantly boosted by Naruto, as people said they originally believed that the goddess of the supposedly twisted Axis cult was probably just as twisted. But now they saw her as a kind and gentle goddess with an odd but cute verbal tick. The only problem was it wasn't the real Aqua that they would be worshipping, but rather a fake. Aqua had been completely and utterly destroyed, and there wasn't a single thing she could do about it now. Note to self. Do not push Naruto too far. Azuma thought and shivered when he thought about what the shinobi could potentially do to him. He turned to find Megumin trembling as well, assuming she probably came to the same conclusion. As the hype began to dwindle down, the townspeople and eventually the adventurers started going back to their previous activities. The appearance of the goddess Aqua would be the talk of Axel for many days to come. All that was left was Naruto and Kazuma's party standing in front of the Adventurers Guild. Who would have thought we'd get to meet one of the goddesses? Ah. I forgot to ask Aqua-sama to thank Arasama for me. Darkness moped at her mischance at thanking the goddess she worshipped, oblivious to the truth. It's not me, it's not me, it's not me. Aqua continued to mumble to herself, her eyes dull and void of life. Well, I'm off to go complete a quest. I'll catch you guys later. Naruto announced with a salute before he disappeared in a poof of smoke. Seeing this, Aqua's eyes turned into saucers as the light returned to them. That smoke. Well, what do you know, that guy might actually be a ninja. Azuma noted before stretching his arms out. It was only the afternoon, but he was already getting tired for some reason. Darkness turned around and pointed towards the guild. I feel strangely motivated to take on a quest. Shall we hunt more toads today? Ah, but Aqua said she didn't want to do that quest anymore. What a shame, I wanted to try that new strategy Megumin and I came up with where I distract a dozen toads at the same time and Megumin blasts us all away with explosion magic. NGH. I wonder if my body would be able to withstand the most powerful spell. Azuma looked at Megumin, who quickly averted her gaze. You want to use explosion magic on Darkness, I thought you two were getting along, and you want to sacrifice her for your twisted explosion fetish. Hey. She said this was the best way to test just how durable she is. I'm not going to let an offer like that slip by me because of something as weak as human morals. Besides, I thought you didn't even want Darkness in the party. Do you even hear the words coming out of your mouth? This is Darkness's life we're talking about. She may have a twisted personality and body harder than stone, but that doesn't mean I'd send her off to die. NNG. The toad slime was good, but this verbal harassment is also pretty good too. Darkness chimed in while wrapping her arms around her body and squirming. Let's just go inside. Agreed. Azuma and Megumin said before looking back at their final member. You coming, Aqua? No, that's okay, I'm taking the day off today. See you guys tomorrow. Aqua said and slowly began to make her way to the stables. Is she going to be okay? Megumin asked Kazuma, and the boy shrugged. She got what was coming to her, but I still feel kinda bad. Hopefully, she learned her lesson and won't try to swindle people anymore. Kazuma thought and walked into the guild with his other 2 party members. They wouldn't be taking on a quest without their fourth member, so they would decide what they'd be doing tomorrow. The next day. Hey, Naruto-san. Did you hear? They say the goddess Aqua-sama appeared today. Although I didn't feel any surges of holy magic, Wiz chimed as she scarfed down a bowl noodles. She was sad that Naruto had only brought a single bowl of ramen this time, but wasn't in any position to complain. Naruto chuckled as he swept the entrance to the store like usual. It's true, I saw the goddess with my own eyes. Eh? I would have liked to meet her too, even if her very presence might be enough to purify me, Wiz said with a troubled expression, placing the empty bowl and utensils onto the table. Don't say something so ominous with a casual expression, Naruto said and smiled awkwardly, but that got him thinking. What would happen if Aqua, a goddess, met Wiz, who was a lick? He'd have to be careful if the two ever met. By the way, why did you buy all the elimination scrolls? I thought you said they weren't useful in the slightest. Did you perhaps change your mind? Wiz asked curiously. When Naruto had been putting the scrolls away after she had stopped him from destroying them, he suddenly requested to buy them. Wiz assumed he was just trying to help the store, but Naruto assured her that he needed them for something serious, and she eventually caved. You were right, Wiz. Those scrolls had a use after all. Apparently, you could amplify the brightness by channeling your mana into it. With enough mana, just one scroll could theoretically light up an entire town. Naruto explained, which a cheeky grin plastered on his face. Wiz tilted her head in confusion, but shrugged it off and started clearing the table. It didn't matter what Naruto used the scrolls for, so long as she had been able to help him for once. What if Naruto was sent to in konosuba? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.